Well, hello there and welcome back to the Clan Showdown tournament here this November. I'm being joined here by Insane and we are in for some cracker games today. Yesterday already we had to say goodbye to two teams dropping out of the lower bracket, namely Anway and Beyond. And that leaves us with four teams here, Raid, Indel, Tilt and Hive, the latter two being our first matchup for today.
Yeah, indeed, Key. We have possibly the four best teams left in that tournament. We are going to be starting with the losers bracket match between Tilt and Hive. It's going to be a BO5. And after that, we are going to have the two teams battling in the winners bracket finals, Raid and Invil. For now, I guess we can say that Hive may be the favorite for the first match, but Tilt, that was a bit sloppy against Anway for their first match, but they're probably going to have something to show today.
Yeah, also Hive yesterday, surprisingly, I would say, after being 3-0 up against Anway, I believe, still having to go through the tiebreaker to make it against them. And yeah, here we see the community predictions. It's 76% for Hive and only 23% for Tilt. Personally, I think the two teams are more evenly matched, even though I would give the advantage to Hive. What's your take on that?
I mean, obviously, when you see the lineups, when you see that fame reinforcement with those five players, when you see also players like me from that RU Team Mercy, you expect Hive to just take the victory today. But Tilt, they also have a pretty good lineup. They also have experienced players, so hopefully they're going to be able to give a good one there.
Also, I believe we have the same drops campaigns as yesterday lined up for you. Hello again, by the way. And yeah, basically the drops that you can get or could already get yesterday up until the end of day today are comprising of personal reserves, consumables, and also those sweet Clan Showdown camos together with a black base paint that you cannot get anywhere else so far, I believe. And also today, 1 day of premium also available, so be sure to refresh your stream, guys, if you haven't already, to be able to claim all of those drops. And as Insane seems to be finally back here again, let's make short work of this and hop over to the lovely casted duo of Ducky and Barry.
Yes, Kihan, thank you very much for the swift and disappearing introduction there, even. Just completely going off screen for a while. But hi, Barry. It's nice to see you
Hello,
again.
I'm actually here, you know, like Key, who's back and forth, in and out. But hopefully it will remain here for the rest of the stream.
Maybe you can mark your Cairo in the meantime as well.
Dude, man. Like,
Dude, it's just have to start strong, you know? Have to start strong. People really appreciated the Cairo remarks, so...
Did they?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I had a lot of positive feedback on it personally. I don't know
I'm
how you
glad.
feel about that, but...
I'm glad you did. I don't think there's anything positive about me and Carol. But anyway, we have Tilt here, as we've seen the international lineup of Tilt. Kind of the two best international teams, really, kind of left in this tournament. And we're going to see them fight it out in this match just now. We've got also Hive here. Any standout players, any performances that you're looking to see from any individuals here, Daki?
Well, I mean, I think the most important players for both teams will be the field commanders, actually, coming into this one in a best of 5. Individually, you know, I saw near you and Defender get added to the team, but I feel like yesterday, both of them actually made kind of big personal mistakes and positioning mistakes that costed their team. So maybe near you and Defender actually having to step up today and proving why they are in this team to begin with.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it as well. The Defender sometimes maybe just not being in the most influential positions, especially when he was playing things like an E4 multiple times on Himmels and Ensk, doing nowhere near as much damage as he could have. You know, not living up to his potential. As you said, you've got some star players in there, and you do expect them to put in those performances. And actually, as I just mentioned, Ensk, we will be seeing that first up as well. So we saw that yesterday a couple of times, and we're going to see it straight up again here today. And maybe, as we said, maybe Defender can kind of play a bit better and learn from what he did. Yeah, learn from his mistakes yesterday, and hopefully he's had time to reflect.
Yeah, and then going into Live Oaks after, it's an interesting pick between these two. I think Hive is very happy with Live Oaks personally. I think they've shown that they like playing it, they don't mind playing it. Ensk, we'll have to see what Fist has ready for us. We saw a glimpse of what Hive had to show yesterday against Invil. Invil getting the better of them there on that one. But between these two, Barry, the casting side is completely Hive biased. Kihan, the only one giving Fist 2 rounds.
Yeah, I was kind of on the fence, but I do think they will pick it up 3-1 Hive. But I was kind of swaying towards Kihan's prediction. But as you can see, the more experienced players here all going for the 3-1. So maybe we know something. Who knows?
Maybe, but yes, I don't think anybody got a single completely correct prediction yesterday. I'm not sure though. But yesterday we weren't that good on the prediction department, sadly. Maybe today we will be better. As we like to remind you, this is best of 5, so first to 3 will be taking it away. And Hive already with a very heavy lineup, a lot of TDs and Fists, mainly Chiefs and 279s.
60 DP as well coming out there from near you. I wonder what position he will go to. And they're actually playing a little bit different from yesterday. So you've also got that E100. Yesterday, I think they had a mouse. I believe. Today they're using an E100. Maybe just that little bit extra mobility. Comet taking a lot of damage on the cross there. Minus 1k, 1.5k. So finally Hive putting in the shots. But yesterday we saw that they actually didn't manage to put as many shots on the rail cross in the early game.
Yeah, you can see that Shockish now running away from the field. It's a completely different strategy coming out here from Hive. They are playing for city control with rails. Now, when they did the shots on the crossing, they are forced to go city now. But you can see that Fist has actually not really abandoned the city completely. So this is going to be rough for Hive. They're not going to be able to push all the way to the end. They're going to have to be happy with taking up towards D3 for now and pressuring the Fist guys back pretty far away. That does mean that second rail, which is a very important rail, the one where radio is going in now, will be controlled by the side of Hive. No, sorry, not by the side of, but the side of Fist, and that E3 lays waste to the entire E line.
Yeah, it's actually quite important what's going on the rails. You said you got Tilt trying to make it down the second rail, but you've also got near you getting that spot on the first rail. So I wonder exactly how much information Hive has, because it looks like they're going to make some more aggressive plays. Negative. He's going to go down.
No, 1 HP! 1 HP!
Wow.
It's literally saved there by 1 HP as he got set on fire. Itox igniting him there. That's very good stuff for Hive. Bringing some HP back in their favor, but still, they have no position to push AB line. They don't have the tanks for it. Neither do they have the positions to achieve this. Negative on 1 HP. Lucky to be alive. Now we come into a fight where it's city against rails control. Normally rails control is favored over having city control, but it's Fist going to make this work.
Yeah, I don't know. As you said, you got Radio Primate in that position that he can kind of watch over the courtyard and see if Hive are going to rotate, and obviously if they do anything in the south, which it looks like they might be trying. You've got Alia trying to maybe get into the side of Radio Primate. He's going to push into the rails a bit, but he's going to get shot in the side by AIM. And multiple times, I think, Skirpy as well coming in. Yeah, and he doesn't connect his shot either, so Alia, this could be a bit of a mistake. They're trying to trade, but Alia doesn't make the shot, and he's just taking free damage now because he didn't connect his shot at all.
You can see here, normally you can shoot under the rails, right? And connect the shells that way. But the issue, however, against 279s is that they are too high. You know, the tracks extend too high to actually be able to do that. And it looks like Hive is actually going to go for a rails re-push here. Reaction already taking the brunt of damage. Recheck is now going to be the first one in this 50B. They want to cross back over, but they're crossing into a setup Hive team who's now going to be reinforcing again. And Fist team. And Hive's now trailing already 8,000 HP in this regard.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult, I think, for Hive to actually come back here. You said the HP is just not in their favor because Tilt had a lot more control. You said they had the rails, and Hive realized that they wouldn't be able to push through the city, so they're kind of forced to try something else. Their plan didn't go, or it didn't go as planned. You know, Tilt were basically set up and waiting for it. Hive managing to take a bit of HP back, but they haven't even picked up any tanks really in the south here. You've managed to have AIM fall back onto a one-shot, and now you've got some support from the 279 multiple chieftains there on the zero line, and I don't think this looks very good for Hive at all.
I would say, actually, there's a few saving graces here for Hive, and it's the fact that they've taken back rails control, and they are not really able to get pushed at the buildings on J8. So they have taken back second rail, the most important rail, which crossfires the city. They have Itox pushed down in that rail, and he has a wreck to work with as well, providing him some shielding. Now they're starting to push those buildings, though, and actually they might be able to pull it off, as now Mato is going to be leading the charge on towards Shokesh, who seems to be unexpecting. Mato picks up Benzo immediately. Shokesh is going to be the next one falling here, and actually Fist, they do have enough, and they're starting to do cleanup operation building as they sweep from building to building, picking up hive tanks along the way, and Magical has nothing to say, as Niall is now on the full retreat back to his own base, but still, this is Fists all over the clock.
Yeah, as I said, it was that hit squad, the double chieftain 279 coming in from the back lines, rotating, going onto the zero line, and just adding in an extra like 8k HP into the fight, which Hive just couldn't fight against, because, as you said, they took a lot of crossing damage as was expected, and then they didn't have enough health to just sustain against this secondary push, which is coming in from Tilt. And it looks like they're probably just going to clean them up. You've got a lot of low health tanks in the base here from Hive. I don't think they're going to last too much longer.
No, it's too much HP difference here for the side of Hive, and also the guns are not in their favor. They have tanks committed down the rails, which can't really go anywhere. Itox is now probably getting shot from multiple sides as reaction goes down. Itox will follow him very, very soon, and then it's just mop up operation for the rest of these Hive tanks here. Kubash and his 279 might have a lot of HP, but there's too many Fist tanks, and Fist here with a good split, you could say. You know, sending enough to the field to force Hive to run away from it, and in return still holding the city, so Hive couldn't fully take it over, and then starting to control the angles. Yeah, he had Negative, who's still alive, by the way. Dropping towards a one-shot, but all in all, good start.
Yeah, I was just wondering, actually, maybe we can discuss it as well towards the end of the game. We had Hive kind of react at the start. I wonder what their initial plan was, because I think you saw Shokish was the most eastern tank. He wanted to go east, and obviously they got a lot of information on where Tilt was going, and then they decided to go city, but you can kind of see that their strategy wasn't to just initially go all to the city. It looked like a bit of a reactive strategy, which is, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Reacting to the information you get in the early game on the rails. Be interested to see exactly what they were kind of thinking. Do you have any insights into that?
No. Usually to pull off this city overrun, you need to spot them going full field and then overrun the city, or enough on the field that you can overrun the city in return. But when you have this many TDs, it's not really able to be done. And I think there's also a really big mistake for the side of Hive, is that they left second rail open to be controlled by the sides of Fist. Normally, even in a game like this, you would push down second rail yourself with some tanks, so you have control over it and at least make a shield for each other. So, you know, you push down 2 E3s or an E3 and a chief, the chieftain dies, the E3s behind it, so they don't have to worry about Fists taking the rails control slowly and surely. But now they had to repush it, and then they did take it back, right? They did take back the rail, the second rail, but at the cost that was more than it was worth paying for, like 7,000, 8,000 HP difference. It's rough on Ansk.
Yeah, you saw Alya making that play. They kind of took it back in 2 waves. They tried to just send Alya in just to do
I keep thinking you say Alyo, and I'm like, Alyo's playing?
Or Ali.
Ali. Just call him Ali.
Ali.
Ali. You know? Because
I guess so, yeah.
Because I feel like you keep saying Alyo, manifesting Alyo to appear in the finals. We all wish. But yeah,
not today.
It's weird though, because like if you look at it, if Hive brought their lineup from yesterday and did this, the lineup from Hive would be the lineup from Fist would be much less suited to deal with it, because they didn't have those E3s like Invil did, for example. They were much lighter, but they opt to go for this rails control, but then don't even try to control the most important rail. And it's just in general hard to hold from the city to your own base, because the angles that exist and that get created by the Fist side is just, it's really hard to deal with, to be honest. Really,
I think you saw Hive trying to like control the first rail, and you said the second rail is quite important because you can push that E3 down, get a lot of kind of crossfire, a lot of information on what's in the city when things rotate. But Tilt seemed to play quite heavy on the one line. I don't know if you saw, you had the 60 DP, which I think they picked for that specific role. A lot of like high alpha, high HP, just to do a big alpha shot on the cross, as opposed to the E3, because it's a bit more versatile, you know, with the turret.
When you just wants to play a special tank, and the 60 DP is actually okay. You sometimes see VKs as well, but I think 60p maybe slightly more bouncy than the VK.
A little bit faster as well, because I think they were worried about maybe having too many TDs and not having enough mobility to react. Because you saw that they tried to make that kind of south repush, and it just didn't quite work out. It was always going to be difficult though, because you said they did get a bit of rails control.
I mean, even when they did the south repush, Ali was getting farmed, and by the time Ali died, right, then they started to repush. So Ali already died for that move, for going back to the rail, and then they repush. Now maybe if you repush when Ali is getting shot at, there's less tanks that have reload available to shoot, and then you can maybe do it. But it would always cost them more than they would give. That's just the way it works when you try and repush the rails, because Hive is always ready and waiting for this.
Yeah, I said it was clearly in like two distinct waves. Their push a little bit not necessarily disjointed, but maybe ill-timed. Maybe what we were kind of discussing yesterday, this idea that Hive with all these new additions, especially like 2 from the RU region, 5 Fame members, can they be a cohesive unit? And you're seeing just maybe these little things where the team are just not all on the same wavelength. And as we said, these little mistakes, they can add up. You lose one tank basically for free. And then, you know, when you actually make that cross, you're going to take a big barrage of shells because you're not doing it at the right time. You've got 4 E3s here from Hive.
For Fitz, you have the double E4 and a singular E3. Could be full field from them, to be honest, when you look at the lineup. And now we have to see, can Hive do a lot of damage on the crossing? What do you think, Barry?
And then you got Panuka there going to get the spot, and then you've got 2 chieftains aiming in the back, but I don't think they're managing to get any shots. Now they finally managed to get a couple of them to fly.
But Pika is the last strangler. If people are still aiming for him, he might be in trouble a little bit. He should take some damage on the crossing as well. But so far, the damage on the crossing has been rather neglectable.
Really.
Yeah, minimal.
Yeah, like you had the E3s aiming, E4 aiming as well, and I saw a couple of missed shots. Only the chieftains really hit, and maybe one of the E3s, E4s. But you know, we used to see some teams taking like 3, 4, 5,000 damage, and it goes perfect. But only about 1.5k here, so not really a lot.
Reaction in his position on A7 is only there to waste time, by the way. He can stay there for a while, but there are angles that can get created upon him. He will very slowly die. I mean, nice shot from Banter on towards his position. He's only, you know, he's there to last as long as possible. The E100, though, I like it. You want to know why I like the E100? It can take the shots, it can cross to the cap and make a shield. If the E100 makes a shield, then he is able to get like a chief behind him, and then they're actually going to flap this defense probably from fists.
Yeah, how long, as you said, it'd be interesting to see how long Reaction will hold on, especially with like the HE changes. Usually teams would just fire a load of HE at their 279, but he's actually just taking a lot of damage now. Look, Reaction already down to 600. Usually you'd expect him to live there a little bit longer, no? No,
not really. You can only last so long. Ali, in the meantime, is speaking out, taking damage. I don't even think Reaction should be there in this strategy, because they have the cap shield. So there's not really a usage for him in this. Panu is now going to go behind Silent. Silent needs to put his turret sideways, though, to shield as much as possible. Panu might be able to get reset by HE, though. That's the real question. Can they HE reset Panu or not?
I don't know. I said if the E100 does it correctly, it's going to be very difficult to reach Panu. And now this is the important thing. You've got Hive down a lot of HP. However, they do kind of have control of the rails.
If they hit his gun, they're going to reset as well, by the way.
Yeah, they just managed to reset him, though.
Yeah, but now Hive needs somebody to J1, and they don't have anybody at J1. Like, I even think that one of their TDs should be at... Ooh, but look at Fist. Is Fist making a rotation through the north? What are they doing there? What is this 279 at A7 doing? Banter. Is Banter even completely driving out in the open for no reason? And even in the south, there's a slight repush coming as well. Fist is pushing back across on the south level now, but let's see the damage they take from as Banter goes down. Pika follows him to the grave straight away. Overreaction here, you could say, as they had the cap still under control. They are trying to push across, eliminating this E100 factor, eliminating this shield, eliminating Ali even on the way. But now it comes on to Hive. They need to come back into this one. They still have the double tank at A0, who's now getting pushed as well. The rest of the team now trying to reinforce through the rails. Pytok, Shockish, in there, all driving down. Alex is going to be their first focus. I mean, White Shocks, the damage that he just took in that singular E3 is pretty significant. Shockish is now going for Gonzi to get him a defender. That's a correct move. Little skirmishes all over the map, and so far so good for Fist, as they still have way more guns alive.
Exactly, I was going to say, it looks like the guns are going to be the difference here. You got Hive probably not going to win the South just because there are so many guns from Tilt Fist. If they actually play it correctly, they can create so many angles. And look at all those Amaraks coming in. You got White Rock Amarak, negative Amarak, Scurpy Amarak as well. White Rock's also going to go down. So it doesn't even matter these Amarak because he's not in the game anymore. And look, Hive, low on HP, low on guns. It looks like Tilt Fist are actually going to pick up a 2-0 on our first map. And in a best of 5, this is huge.
Yeah, this is indeed huge because this is match point for Fists, and there's no reason to why reaction should be there if you're gonna have the E100 shield on the cap. He wastes time, but he dies for free. Also, there's way too many tanks down the rails. Way too many tanks down the rails. There is no need for this many tanks to be down the second rail or third rail. You could see how they were forced to drive down the rails then when the Fist team was repushing, which is the worst case scenario. You want to have your guns focused on either south or north, right? If Fists overpush the northern side to go to your own cap, you simply overrun their cap because you already have the cap started. If they decide to repush their own base, you just kill them on that side. Now, instead, they're in the rails, Fists push across, and half of the Hive team has to drive out of a rail and are unable to contribute to the fight.
Yeah, you could see though what Tilt actually did. They kind of pressured both sides because, as you said, you had so many tanks in the rails that Banter was going for a wander up to A7, but he was actually basically just saying, guys, there's no one really here to actually stop us. And then I think they managed to distract Nile on the cross and distract all of those tanks that were just, as you said, waiting in the rails, trying to do a lot of crossing damage, and they did a decent amount.
There is a tank missing on J1 for the side of Hive. There's no tank on J1 that is able to ping the guys sitting at the rails slowly, like a heat shooter or even an E4 or an E3. It doesn't really matter. There's none of that at J1, which is a very important position to have, so you can shoot at those 279s even when they repush. And also, when they push back across their own cap, you have a guy in J1, and this also means that they have to push all the way to go and kill him. So he's just making shot after shot after shot the whole time because he's so far away. They don't have this. They have tanks close, and they have way too much in the rails. There's no need for this. There's absolutely no need to have so much in second or third rail. This is the kind of game where they need to be focused around the first rail, which was the one that they had in the other Ensk battle, right? That rail, they need to be stacked more around this because A0 is hard to push, doesn't matter even if they do, because you can cover it from your own base, and now they're in, like, again, in terrible positions.
Yeah, you said that they didn't really have too much in their own base. You said it was all kind of, I think the strat was, we have the U100 and the U100 Wreck, Chieftain, just wait for them to repush, and that's what they were expecting, but they kind of went all in on that strategy, and then they didn't have any kind of tanks.
If they went all in on that strategy, they would be sitting around that base, around this first rail, where you can shoot both up and down from, and be completely fine, and not in the second rail where you are actually completely useless, to be honest. And reaction is a freebie, like it's actually a freebie.
Yeah, I don't know. He died. I said quite quickly because it didn't really seem that they were really managing to trade.
He did 1.6, so he didn't trade down badly, but it's, again, when you are playing a strategy that uses a sacrifice, so you're playing with 14 technically, you cannot have another tank die for free because you have one committed on the cap, you have 2 dead, so you're actually effectively playing with 12.
Yeah, and you said just quite inefficient play there from Hive. I think if they just did a few things differently, they could have picked up potentially both rounds. The first one was a lot, well, not so close, but the second one, there was quite a bit of hope there for the Hive team. I think there was one point, they managed to get the HP even, but just the tanks just not in the greatest position to actually be able to see the rest of the game out, basically.
They just have to cover whatever tries to repush towards the E100 wreck. They don't even have to be super close for that. There's angles in positions that they can play to do this. I would say that overall the strat from Hive was probably good enough to break Fist's defense, but the way their tanks were positioned around the map, around the rails, was just garbage.
There's a damning review there. Garbage play.
I mean, you have to be able to cover both bases, or you have to be able to overpush their base or your own base. With the positions Hive had, you were able to do neither of the two. Like, you could shoot to crossing a little bit, but you couldn't cover either bases effectively. So they were just 20 seconds away from the actual fight, which is not the way it's supposed to be done. So, like, the initial tactical idea was good, but the positions weren't there to follow up with it. And Fist making the repush and making it happen. And they are now on match point as well.
Yeah, the execution just not there. But we will move into Live Oaks, and you said Hive yesterday looked pretty solid on Live Oaks. Said they weren't the greatest, but they could easily pick up one round, maybe pick up the first, and then it does come down to match point pressure again, and hopefully they can see it through, and maybe we'll get through to a tiebreaker. Let's see what Tiltfist are going to bring out here, because as we said, they are on match point. You've got the double 279, double EBR, and a couple of 907s there for Hive. 3 907s.
A couple of 907s. Hive now need to mentally reset and do a remontada that has been done against them many times before, and they are now looking at a double match point for this side of Fist. Looking to go mainly towards the city in the beginning. Actually, Barry, it's Triple Chief on the south. Few tanks in the building, and not actually such a heavy commitment to the city. I mean, it's still there, but it's not full. It's not 100%.
Yeah, both teams going towards the city here. As you said, we've got 2 chieftains in the south, and I think 3 behind the house. So 5 chieftains from, 5 chieftains from Tilt, not in this city fight just to start off with. So we'll see how aggressive Hive are going to play, because it looks like they're going to try take the A1 corner, expecting that Tilt are going to maybe play the city with that heavier lineup. We said Hive do have those 3 907s, and maybe they're expecting this big fight to go on here, but they're taking a lot of damage on the cross. 1.5k, Nile going down 1.2, Defender also taking 2 shots, and now they have the information. There's just 6 chieftains on the hold down. Look at them, all just sat together. Nice little fire.
But they can start, the thing that exists though, Barry, is one of the things that it's very annoying for the teams to play against, is that from this position here, around this area, right? You have buildings, you have houses, and you have positions that you can shoot from unspotted towards this and pressure these guys back and even pick up some free damage. You need to be careful. Ooh, Neva takes the double there. It's still possible to be done though, even with Pika there, it's still possible to be done.
Yeah, they did get a few shots in just before Pika moved, and you said, I think they managed to react just about in time till Fist, and they said they managed to get 2 onto Neva. Even taking his Amarak temporarily. But I wonder if it doesn't look like there's too much going on this south. You do have the double EBR from Tilt Fist. I wonder if they might try and make a slightly more aggressive play, because you do have Hive using the EBR passive in the middle. So just a slight little variation from both teams there, how they're using the EBRs. And you said it probably is going to come down to 50s, 97s, and just get a few little shots off, because other than that, right now, there's not really many opportunities for Hive to do damage. Pika making a peek there, but the rest of the chieftain's just going to be sat on the hold down. It's going to be difficult to do this.
It's the issue with Pika's position, right? You cannot sit 100% safe there against all angles, and there's still too many trees and bushes in the city to work with. And Neva, if he plays it well, is slowly, very slowly going to chip away here at the... Oh, he takes another one on blind. Actually, no, he was spotted. Take it back.
As you said, there isn't actually that south... slight repush here. You got 3 heavies, I think a 279 and double chief from Hive, aggressing slightly with their EBR, just trying to maybe take the other side of the map. Is never going to get yet. Never. He's running out there. It's not working for him, as we said. The tanks from Tilt Fist, they kind of know that it's for those 907s who are really going to be able to do just a little bit of damage here and there, and that's pretty much the only thing that Hive can actually do with these angles in the city right now.
I honestly,
managing to counter.
I really think that they need to get Benzo and Itox out here, cross back over, take control over the K line like they're doing now, have almost everybody else covering the city, and go under with one 907 at first, or maybe both 907s at first, and then cover with the tanks from the south and crossfire those guys at the G line for G4 building to dead, because I think they are the weakness in this round right now. They are open and exposed, and it would force Fists into a reaction every single time.
Yeah, and you also have that EBR in the middle as well. So if you use maybe a 907 with him, you can get some early spotting out, and then the 907 just to kind of provide some staying power. But you do have Killer Pit behind the house. You shouldn't be able to over-peak onto those tanks, but yeah, they will probably need to do something in the south at the moment. And you can see, actually, they are pulling one 907 out, but I'm not sure if that's... that is one of the full HP 907s.
I don't know if one is enough, to be honest. That's the whole issue. I don't know if one makes it. That's what I'm afraid of.
He's actually going towards C6 maybe, just for a bit of some sniping shots. It's actually Benzo. You said they managed to pull him out, but it does look like that Itox is still just in the city, and they're just trying to get some little damage in here. They're actually managing to connect some shots again. So Itox is taking the position that Never was occupying earlier. But obviously Never now on low HP. Itox is trying to get in some side shots here. Niall making some trades as well.
And Niall actually getting one back on towards Pika. So the HP is like, it's within reasonable limits of each other. This peek from Koma is risky. I mean, he can just take damage. Nearyu is in a superior position here, to be honest. Nearyu could actually also load... Wait, what do you think? AP? For Neo? Oh, nice spend there. But if he loads AP, do you think he pens him through the track?
I think he probably would, yeah. With the heat, no chance. But with AP,
the way that
probably
Koma's
actually
angled?
a bigger shot. That was pretty lucky to hit the lower plate. It was a very, very small shot.
That's what I was thinking. I feel like he could definitely have... Oh, they're not going for under at all, man. They're pressuring K-Line here. They're even using a 279 for it. But there's triple Chieftain here, though, for the side of Fist, man. I think this will be hard to dig through for the side of Hive.
Yeah, especially when you've got one on that rail just to the right of Fly, and you could see there. I think Ebesh was about to go into the position under the cart, and then you just have this really difficult crossfire where Ebesh can basically just do probably two shots on the cross for free, and you've also got Manfred here just creating these crossfires. It's going to be difficult, as you said, for Hive to actually push, but they are going to do it. They're actually going over the bridge. They're going in. Danley taking 1.2k HP, leading the charge into these 4 chieftains, as you said. And he's actually going to go down. I'm not sure if the bridge was the best play at all, really.
No, under was the opportunity that was available. Benzo does take towards the end here, but in return, they have lost even more HP, and now maybe Benzo can start doing something, but Benzo is a 907. That's not a chieftain. He cannot really effectively peek this. And Hive has been completely outplayed here by Fist, to be honest. Like, completely red outplayed, and are now in a worse scenario than they were in before. I mean, maybe they can do something against the 279. That's killer pit on the building, but Benzo would need to stay alive for that, which I'm not sure how he's going to achieve right now. He's getting peeked by Manfred, so Manfred is going to slowly chip away at him.
If he goes under this bridge here, he can get shot by the 279, and Benzo just looks a bit confused. He's like, why am I in a 907? Why am I here? I don't know if maybe they expected that Danley was going to be able to cross.
They're using DBRs now, finally, to go under. But I feel like it should have been Benzo finally realizing the opportunity. Killer Pit gets spotted out immediately in return. Dopanu gets spotted out in his CBR. He's down towards 500 HP. And now Hive is starting to attack here. They're starting to make their move, but they're taking so much damage. Still down 6k HP. Koma and Pika still alive in those positions over there. But how long can they last is the real question. 7k HP difference here. Ali now looking towards Pika. Doesn't get the gun depression for it. Misses the shot as well. Takes damage in return, which seems to be the story so far for the team of Hive, just always taking damage, not trading positively at any given point, but at least they're still alive, Barry. They have their guns in the game, which is very important.
Yeah, but as you said, how many tanks do they actually have in very useful positions? As you said, we have Benzo in the south, not really doing too great. Koma here, kind of being able to lock down Profuse and Ali, because they're not really able to peek, and we saw that Ali tried to make a peek, and again, the 279 just couldn't get the gun depression in that position, and now they're basically 9k HP down, and Benzo, as we said, getting over pushed because he's against 4 chieftains. He's not really able to do anything in that tank. All he's going to do is be able to just get pushed on and do 1 or 2 shots. And now they're also going to get pushed on to reaction, and they're going to retake the east side as well. But the HP is so low that, unfortunately, I think it's going to be 3-0 to Tilt Fist. Definitely looks like it's going to be that way.
It definitely is looking to be a 3-0 for Fist here. Hive, tipped as one of the possible favorites of the tournament, have been absolutely outplayed on a level that's going to hurt them for a while, as they do not lose with even a gracious score. It's a clean, dry 3-0, man. Not finding an answer to the defense that Tilt Fist has put up against him, and deservedly so, going out of the tournament. There was some hope on Ensk, but on this one, I mean, just every trade was negative. I don't think they had a single trade which was in their favor almost. And this K-line push never works, but you can forget about it. It's not gonna work. Not in this year, not next year, or in the next 20 years. Is this crossing a K-line when they have the K3 position reinforced with more tanks, and the 279 at G4, which is unpressured and gives 3 shots on the crossing on the water? Is it ever gonna work? Never.
No, very, very difficult to repush. As you said, you have these hold down chieftains in very difficult crossfires. Basically, they're just being able to peek on the rails, being able to peek under the cart. You said you have the 279 as well, and all it takes is maybe even 3 tanks there, just creating those crossfires, and it's very difficult to actually push. But Danley, that was a bit of a mistake. Maybe if Danley was in the position where Benzo was, it might have been a bit different, but I'm not saying it would have made Hive win the
No,
game.
no, you don't.
But
It's actually, I understand that you're trying to make a gracious approach out of it. Even if the chieftain takes K4, right, that balcony there, if you take this balcony here, right, with your chieftain, this chieftain has the superior position. He peeks on you, he can see your cupola, it's going to take you out, but he is going to kill you one-on-one. Unless you hit some magical shots, he's always going to kill you. Even if there's two of you, if there's two of them playing against you, it's the same result, man. This never works. I think I've been hammering it for the last 2 days, and Insane's been hammering it for the last 3 years. Under every single one of these strategies is an exposed part of the map that cannot be properly defended because of the angles that exist. The 279 cannot sit safe against everything. It's not possible. You cannot angle from left, right, and everywhere. But literally every single team seems to somehow ignore about it. We saw one team take it once with 2 907s, after which they got YOLO'd by 2 chieftains and lost their 2 907s, remember? And then they stopped. They didn't care about it anymore. Like, it somehow stopped being good after that. It doesn't make sense.
I wonder what Kubash was firing. There was 11 direct hits, 0 pens. That's a lot of HU.
Yeah, well.
No damage though at all. I don't know. But anyway, not the greatest game for him, and not the greatest game for Hive. They said they will be exiting the tournament.
Deservedly so. Tiltfist moving through the tournament. I wouldn't say this is the greatest Live Oak strat I've ever seen, or the greatest end strat I've ever seen, but it was solid and it worked, and they reacted well with what they did. They reinforced the K2 position, after which made it impossible for Hive to push. Hive should know that this is a possible rotation, as they do not have under to cut off this rotation. I mean, maybe if I say it 20 more times, they'll listen at some point. But yeah, 279 is hard to deal with at that building, but if he has to face one way, he can't face the other way. You know, if you do take under at some point, the 279, he cannot watch the K-line and the guy behind him at the same time. He just slowly gets shipped away and dies. So that's and it also cuts off the rotation. It's like probably the most important part of the map, actually, Barry.
Yeah, it was. As I said, the games weren't even really that close. Ensk was maybe the only potential glimmer of hope. Yeah, the only glimmer of hope. But really, they were deservedly beaten, as you said. Definitely.
Yeah, well, that's enough from me and Barry. I hope that Insane could hammer under a little bit more away into the brains of everybody, and let's hear what the analysts have to say.
Hello and welcome back. Sooner than expected, I guess. We find ourselves at the analyst desk once again. And yeah, I believe I was muted for you, Insane, but it should be fine now. There we go. I was just saying, we find ourselves here sooner than expected, and also with a very, very interesting outcome. 3-0 for Tilt Fists. Hive out of the tournament. Quite an upset. Also considering every single one of the talents here on camera was basically betting on Hive to win. But yeah, here we are. Tilt Fists is now waiting in match 7 for the winner of Raider Indel.
To be fair, we didn't give them enough credits, but at the same time, I'd say Hive performed really poorly today. That's disappointing, but that's how it is. They're out. Tiltfist is moving into the next step of that losers bracket, and they're gonna wait for either Raid or Indil to join them here to battle to actually reach the finals. They're gonna get Fist. They didn't lie. They picked the correct name up here, at least the bronze ones. And to be fair, I don't think we can be upset about that result. With the performance Hive have been just showing here, they deserve to be held, like Daki said. So I guess everything is going according to the level played today. I'm just interesting to see now how it's going to be going between Invil and Raid. Invil, obviously, they did show up very strong yesterday. Raid was a bit sloppy, let's say so. There's a tiebreaker against Anway. So that's going to be either a close match, like they always have between the two of them. Either going to be Invil with a clean sweep, I guess.
That being said, let's take another look at what just happened here and how Hive had to leave the tournament, as the replays are ready, and that was clean stuff from Tilt Fists.
Well, to be fair, from the side of Tilt, they just control. They have the city control, the race control, few tanks on the like green side on the east. So they just hold any form of pushes from the side of Hive, and they just also win on trades. You could see all of those tanks around the rails. They found some openings, some shots here. They picked Ali, and then Hive forced into that repush. But look at the HP. It is already really hard for that team to actually recover there. Even with positions, the HP is massive for Tilt. 6k, 7k HP up here. They just need to train slowly, like group up back and repush. That's what they did, and they deservedly took that first round.
Yeah, it also felt like somehow, maybe even on Livehogs, the third map, it looked a lot like the individual trades for Hive were not really in point. There was some disjointed peaks going on sometimes when the game wasn't even decided yet, losing them crucial HP. That was very, very unusual stuff. Then again, also you have to put in a stellar performance, as Tiltfist did, to be able to capitalize on this.
Definitely, and the second round, you can see this is a key point of that game. You have the opening, Tilt, they're forced to cross to reach to 7-0 lines, but the initial damage done by Hive is almost like nothing. They took what? 4 shots of damage? 2? And then, Tilt, they could just hold on this position. You had the shield with the Ihunta. Probably the turret on the side would be better to fully shield Panuka. And that repush from Tilt. They were up on HP. They have 2 7-9s. 2 7-9s facing Chieftains. 7-9 is gonna bounce some. Chief is not gonna bounce any of those. So Tilt, they capitalize on that advantage they have. And they just take that repush. That was not the greatest repush ever, but as you said, the trades, they were good. They probably had better trades and better shooting than Hive the whole match. And they actually took that round because of it.
As we see the last dying moments here, and after this very, very quick Ensk map here, we went on to Live Oaks, and, well, stuff that had been going bad for Hive, well, it just turned to being worse, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, we see Shockish getting cleaned up here, but honestly, Live Oaks, that was super, super weird stuff here, and,
so,
Ducky...
you can see, first of all, here, Key,
yeah.
like, this cross from Nile and Defender, it's not needed. There is no aggression from the side of Tilt. They're not going to the city with that much tanks. You don't need to make that cross. There were like a lot of micro mistakes from the side of Hive. Some trades. You could see also Danley here going over the bridge. That's a huge mistake. You're taking so much damage for free. And Hive, they didn't find the basic and the obvious opening here to break that defense. They could go under, use this position around the 3-4 lines, get under those tanks from Tilt, surround them completely, use some crossfires, but instead they were actually a bit lost, and probably being down 2-0, they were not capable of actually showing what they're capable of.
Yeah, no mental fortitude there, although you would normally expect it from some of those players. And indeed, as you and Ducky have said, I guess going under would have been the only viable solution. They knew there were so many hold-down chiefs in the north. They knew they had a K3 position taken with chieftains in the south, and like, there is nowhere else to go except under. Like, it's... I don't know, it felt like they were really driving to their death. Anyway, the next match is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a raid against Invil, so basically a German against the Polish team. Who do you see emerging victorious there? Obviously, it's upper bracket, so it's best of 7.
To be fair, like the community prediction is going. I guess Invil, they are the big favorite, but like we said, and like we have seen in every single tournament, whenever those two teams clash, this is close. Like a raid, they always come up with some probably gambles, but they can always surprise and catch off guard Hinville with their risky openings. So hopefully raid is gonna have like interesting stuff prepared for today. I saw that they picked Ensk. They wanted to play that map against Invil. Invil known to be strong on that map, but they probably have something prepared. So that's gonna be interesting to see what they have.
Alright, so I guess that's quite enough from us. There wasn't really a lot to analyze in this swift 3-0 that we just saw. So I guess we will soon head over to Ducky and Barry for some more truly sick casting in, I guess, more than one aspect. But yeah, here we go. Take it away.
I see what you did there, Key. I see what you did there. Ingenious. I gotta say it. Under. Okay, I've reached my quota of saying under for the day. I'm over it. You know, I got a little tilted, Barry. You know.
Well, I mean, you were watching Tilt. Maybe that was just the case.
It's just expected more from Hive. Let's just say it was, we expected more from the boys, and them sadly not delivering. But what might deliver though, Barry, is this absolute cracker between Invil and Raid.
Yeah, probably. Well, definitely the two favorites now. I think you may even see a repeat of this in the final, because these teams are definitely the two strongest teams. You've got Invil, previous champions, Raid, also previous champions of this tournament, and you said they are the two strongest teams left in the tournament now. Hive obviously dropped out, but I said that I was always a bit kind of questioning what Hive would have been able to bring. I said, because you just had those multiple units that they just added in, it takes a while for a team to just gel together. And Invil and Raid have been teams that have played together for a long time. You said you've got this German roster and this primarily Polish roster, and they've played many tournaments together, and they actually have that kind of team cohesion that you do need to actually get to the latter stages of a tournament like this.
Yeah, they do, and they looked very solid yesterday as well. Invil with their aggression coming out, sweeping Hive as well, which Hive didn't seem that strong. We expected them to then recover. Against the next day against Beyond, it wasn't the greatest either. So maybe not just their tournament. This does mean that Killer Pit gets a bronze fist, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a bronze,
For now, I don't have a bronze.
For now, yeah, you don't.
No, I have a silver and a gold one.
You have a golden, you know what I mean? That's the real prize that these teams do want to pick up today.
It's about the collection, Barry.
But you okay. I mean, I just take the gold, but you want to get them all. You want, like, are you a bit of a tank collector?
No.
You know what I mean?
I'm a badge collector as well? I'm a badge collector. And I'm joined by Barry, who's a battle collector in the Cairo.
It's true, man. And 279, you know what I mean? It's true.
It's not fun if you don't take at least 2,000 games to mark a tank, is it, Barry?
It isn't. I'm aiming for 3,000 now this time.
And then what comes after that? Did you do the E6 already?
No, I would never ever mark that tank. I hate that tank.
That's.
I remember seeing you play E6. I remember you being in the middle of Corellia. You like to do that mid push, get into that kind of position under the enemy balcony, under the enemy gun line. And you missed about 20 shots because of the RNG of the tank. I was like, that is the reason why.
I thought you were gonna say because of my bad aim, but you said RNG, so I take it.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. But okay. Same thing, right?
Okay. RNG, bad aim, yeah, they go hand in hand,
especially if you're on a truckload of copium,
Hands shaking, mind tilted already. Oh no, another shot missed. It just adds up and up. But anyways, Raid and Invil. I talked to Smiley yesterday, and he said that partially the reason why we came so close against Anime is there was a few mistakes, but they also didn't want to show anything else. He said they were recycling strategies, and that they have some stuff ready, and that they of course would obviously like to win this game. But he said as well, it's those kind of strategies. And Sane talked about gambles. Sometimes it's like it either works phenomenal and it looks amazing on stream, or it's one of those, it doesn't work out because you forgot something, and literally the entire chat is like typing Omega lol, fame so bad, or raid so bad, Omega lol. Oh, what are they doing? Oh my god, so bad, dude. QSF would do better. Something along those lines.
Yeah, no, you said you might see some of those bit more like peculiar tactics. Maybe they're saving them because you do have two city maps coming up. We've got Himmels and then Ensk, and it's potentially a bit easier to kind of spring a bit of a trap where you've got that natural kind of city environment which can cover some alleys where you're unable to get the information, for example. They might be able to spring something that we haven't seen so far. And as you said, some of the better teams, like for example Invil and Raid, they will save some tactics for the bigger games in the end. So we might see something special come out here, because whoever wins this should go straight through to the actual the final of the tournament and secure themselves at least in silver.
Look at those predictions, Barry.
4-3 from both of us, but I'm actually picking Invil here. You're picking Raid.
Yeah.
Any particular reason? I do generally think Invil.
I do it so that Invil thinks that I hate them because I predict against them the whole tourney, but I don't really care. Like, I just want a better team to win, but it looks funnier this way. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of fun. I also think that Raid deserves some credit because there was also the tournament where Raid beat Invil in the finals, for example, as well. So like I do think they deserve credits for what they've done, and they were pretty good in the groups as well. So I think it's unfair to just like fully go against them. You know?
Yeah, I think I was picking Invil just because they are a strong team, but as you said, no disrespect to Raid at all, and we were both going for tiebreakers, so it could come down to the wire here. We've got those 4 260s from Invil, and we kind of saw similar number of 260s, but they're being used yesterday.
Are they doing the same thing as yesterday?
It looks like a slight adaptation. You got 2 260s going towards the middle, and obviously rerolls now not being able to pressure up probably into the window is I imagine where they wanted to get him, but he's not going to be able to do that. And you got the 2 CSs going to the hill from Raid, so they might be able to catch up Mentos if he's not careful as well, because the Raid are actually being quite passive here. They've seen what Invil have done previously. They kind of know that they were likely to play aggressive with those 260s, and they have. Coach are making a trade in the middle, and it's going to be interesting to see what Invil tried to do now, because Raid actually do have the hill with those double CSs, and Invil are going to have to push here, basically. They're not going to be able to stay in the courtyard. As you can see, they're actually going towards the 1-2-3 line. There's going to be the big fight up here on the 1-2-3 line. Piotr trying to push in. Smiley just sat on the corner. I think Raid actually have some decent crossfires here, because we said as well, the CSs are pushing all these tanks. Rexar, Piotr, they're getting pushed forward. They have no other place to go.
Yeah, you can see here Raid actually springing a little bit of a trap upon the boys of Invil, but Smiley with the ignite. Magnus picks up Piotr. They're gonna lose Timmy in return, that's for sure, but now here comes the Raid reinforcement. The 50B's coming in as well. Smiley leading the charge with Smiley dropping low. Smiley gonna be dropping out even in a second. As he does, it's Rexar to pick it up, but Invil trailing in HP, and here come the 50B's. They need to make their clips work for this to work for the side of Raid. They're all focusing on the 3 line, and Invil dropping hard in HP. Aladdin gets blown up by the boys from Invil in return though, but so far so good. Another ignite, this time it's Jakafa setting Orchek on fire there in the 260. Getsai in the back, still laying waste as well. No more reinforcements coming down from the hill. In the meantime, Simon rerolls in that 60 TP, having to face multiple guns from Invil, but still so far guns even. Both teams losing 4, but Raid up still on HP. That 3k HP extra, can they utilize it though? Because you gotta remember, some of that HP is on the hill. 1-2 line is lost for the side of Raid. You gotta say it's been taken out. They need to retake the 5 line there, where they just lost rerolls in that 60 TP. Ricochet might have to help them, but Piotrix and Piotrix has too much HP here. Destroyer, he needs a friend, he needs a teammate. HP not being brought back. Number of the guns also in favor of Invil.
I'm not sure actually Raid are going to win this. As I said, we had those reinforcements from the hill. You had Ricochet coming in, but he didn't make use of that 2k HP that he had. He's now pushing in down the middle, and it looks like Bunza should actually be able to pick up both of these. Maybe doesn't pan that.
He misses
that.
both.
Isn't that? Oh, that is huge. He's going to go down as well. And really, if he hits both of those, they actually might be able to win that engagement, because you had the CS
but in return,
from the hill and the 279. They would have been able to pick up 279s there, and they didn't pick up any.
In return, though, you can see Destroyer and Ricochet there getting a good pick off on that 1-279. I think that was, I'm not sure who it was actually. I think it was Piotrix. It doesn't matter who it was. Anyways, they managed to face hug him at the Chief, and the 279 notoriously struggles to pen chieftains that are in face hug. So Destroyer and Ricochet, they're doing well, but now getting crossfired, forced back into the 5 line. And this is the number of the guns that Invil just has available over the side of Raid.
Yeah, these are. It's going to be the number of guns here that I think will make the difference, because Destroyer and Ricochet, they're not really able to hold any angles because they're completely surrounded. If Destroyer does try to side scrape to watch that A5 cross, which he pretty much needs to do, as you see, it's just coming in now. But he would have just got shot by Never in the back. He couldn't really get any information and side scrape and actually do anything with his health. So you've got these 2 tanks here who are basically just waiting to die, because they just don't have the guns to hold the angles that they need. And it looks like Invil will somehow manage to pick this up, and for a long time it didn't look like they were going to be able to do that, but they actually managed to keep all their guns alive, especially on the 1-2 line, which it looked like they really weren't going to be able to do, and that was the difference here.
Yeah, I think Raid there overreacting a little bit on the 1-2 lines. I'm not sure, I didn't count exactly how many of the guns of Invil crossed over. So you have the 2-line, 3-line aggression from Invil, right? But that doesn't really do anything unless you cross over towards A1. Now, I didn't see how many Invil tanks were crossed, but there was 3 chieftains from Raid. Now,
you mean into the hangar?
Into the hangar, yeah.
But I saw at least 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, but
3 that I can remember.
Those 3 3 against 4, they're gonna last a while. Aladdin was one of those chieftains there. And Bunza, they're not picking up the kill. I mean, he has to kill one of them there. But anyways, I think this 1-2 repush from Raid was maybe too much. I think going to help rerolls in the 60 TP might have been better as well, because Infill would take a long time to kill 1-2. If they can't clear A1 fast, it would take a long time, because they actually won back 1-2. So I think Raid's plays were more utilizing the CS from the hill when in the courtyard, maybe, because I don't think repushing there. Like, they were up so much HP and then they repush 1-2, Smiley goes down immediately. I don't know if that was the best. Also, I really don't think that these 260s add that much in any of these strategies, by the way. But, like,
yeah, maybe it's potentially just part of their playstyle. Invil trying to take, for example, that basically the whole
Invil trying
courtyard
to
very
be
quickly.
special, where Chieftains would have done the exact same thing, probably even better.
Yeah, I think it's just part of their like philosophy. They want that speed. You know, Invil tried to play with a lot of speed in the initial engagement, and even if it's just that extra few seconds, I think they believe that that's the advantage they need, because that's like the aggressive kind of dominating playstyle they like to try and play in the early game.
You know what's the sad part there as well for Raid? You know how you have Timmy's position there on the window area, right? If when he sees them push up 2-line, he has always the possibility to reverse. And you know, on the outside of the hangar, there's this small rubble pile where you can kind of angle against both the 2-line and the 3-line to survive even longer. Actually, that could have also been. It's like those very minor things, but I think this repush wasn't the greatest for Raid, personally. I think that's where they kind of threw the lead that they had.
Yeah, I think
because ultimately they have the hill, right? They have the hill, and Invil can have one too. It doesn't matter. Like, even if they're gonna go kill those A1 guys, they're not gonna trade well for it, right? So you can back off from that almost altogether and play over that hill advantage that you have, because you can eliminate most of the courtyard positions.
Which they did. They did a lot of damage from the hill. I think Alex up there with a 4.2 damage, just putting in consistent shots throughout the game. Because you said they did have that double CS from the early game, and I wonder if that must have been Invil's plan. So there's not really too many options that Invil had. Like, it was very likely they were going to push towards that 2-3 line, and it looked like Raid will. They were very, very well set up. Maybe they could have been even slightly heavier there, potentially. Just with that one or two extra tanks. I also think Jakefa was kind of caught out of position. He was playing to punish the guys on the 3-line, but once you lose A1 like that, he just got absolutely annihilated, set on fire, just destroyed within like 3 seconds, because
it was a close game though. It could have gone either way, and now Raid looks to recover on the next round. They still hanging on to those triple 50Bs, again with a singular CS. Invil with the double CS, no 50Bs, but a bat.
A bat, yeah.
5 Chieftains and the rest 2 7-9s.
So I think the hill could be an interesting kind of engagement here, because we do have the bat, we have that double CS from Invil, but they're not actually using their CSs onto the hill. Invil going to play 1-2-3 with the CS. You can see one's C3. I imagine the other might try and go out towards E1. I don't know. We'll see.
The one that's going to go take the hold
playing
down.
over the middle.
He's going behind the hold down there. Destroyer not getting a shot on towards Monster though. He's going to get crossfire now between him and Never there. Monster looking for the Cupola, doesn't connect it. This is why I don't like the CS being here. I don't think personally he adds that much, but yeah, you can see now Monster's fully forced back by those Destroyer is fully forced back by those double CS, and here comes the Invil 1-2 line push though behind that barrier. What do you think of this?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we got here. We've got 3 Chieftains going down the 1 line, and the 2 7-9s. There's maybe 4, 5, 6 2 7-9s just pushing down the 2 lines. So there's full aggression coming in, and Raid making the rotation. It looks like they might just be in time here, actually. But Invil will know exactly how many tanks are crossing over, because you've got that Chieftain in the window being able to get all the information out, and it'll be interesting to see how Invil reacts.
They're going to have to give up Jackify. No matter what, Jackify is going to die. The only question is if he is actually able to do some shots when they're driving down. Then be careful with this KLN reinforcement. Invil definitely will pick up Jackify. Rexar in its bat though, he's down and out. Gets completely annihilated by the Raid tanks on the hill. Aladdin needs to be careful that this one is cheap, because it doesn't look like the Invil tanks are about to stop just there. And Aladdin may have just overextended ever so slightly, allowing them to even get a secondary kill. Aladdin, that's not where you're supposed to be seen, as he is now in complete trouble. Invil taking back to the HP lead, picking up another freebie. They got Jackify for free, but they didn't need to get Aladdin as well.
No, definitely. I think there was a bit of miscommunication there. You could see the tanks of Raid have rotated here to the H3 position, trying to find some secondary positions because they realized they weren't going to be able to stop this hit squad of Invil. Look, they're just taking over the cap. There's 6 guys just going together. They basically played together, going down the 2 line, now into the base, and they're not stopping. They're just going to roll over the rest of this Raid team, I think.
Yeah,
because Raid are just kind of, they're in these isolated kind of platoons. You know, you got rerolls and Mayo there. You got Callian fighting against 3 guys. As we saw, the cap just got absolutely annihilated. Another tank just behind the church. They're all in these isolated pockets. They're not being able to focus their fire. And Invil are just basically rolling over them with this big hit squad. Look, Conrad and DJ also trying to just take these fights. And everywhere Invil seem to go, they're just finding basically like isolated tanks from Raid, and it's really just going to cost them the game here.
It is absolutely going to cost him the game, as rerolls might get a reset. He does, bringing it down back towards 4 seconds. But even with this, it's going to be Invil bringing it to 2-0 on Himmelserver. And I would like to say Raid IMO had the right idea of how to play, but the execution wasn't really there, Barry. It wasn't really there. Quickly, normally when you give up 1-2, you play over these positions here, right? You play over those positions there. But now Raid had all 3 of them peeking from that one corner at H3. Aladdin has no business being there whatsoever. Aladdin has no business being there.
I think he wasn't supposed to be there. I said, I think the call from Raid was potentially we can re-push it, and they saw exactly how many tanks were there, and they obviously backed out. They went back to H3, but Aladdin
there was more than this.
Didn't get it
There was more than this, right? There was like Kalium as well, which was kind of caught out in the open for no reason. Jakafa did only 1.4. I mean, he does have shots on them driving down 1-2 line, but there's fences in the way. It's not always going to be the easiest for you. But basically, what allowed Invil to win this game, Barry, is that, you know, those pushes with like those 7 guys that you were talking about, they come around the corner, they kill Aladdin. They continue on and they kill the 279 that's behind the church. Now, this 279 is also without support because there's nobody shooting the K-line crossing. I mean, they had like a 1279, 150B because Kalium's driving to survive. Aladdin's dead because he was somewhere where he's not supposed to be. And the guys that are in H3, there's way too many of them watching from one corner instead of watching the 4 line and doing the damage, because if they are in the right positions, they would butcher this Invil push. But because they're so disjointed and all trying to survive or in bad positions, they're not actually able to put out that damage.
Yeah, as you said, you often find once you know the team's going, or from the north, you know they're just going to push down the 2 line, you have that information, and then they're going to push into your cap. You said you do get that kind of H, you get a lot of the teams playing in those houses in the H line, just spreading out, creating different angles, using the different lanes, picking up a shot here and there, and if they're in those defensive positions, that will that will basically mean they will actually be able to get that HP advantage.
If they play the H line properly, they more than likely will beat this push. To be honest,
yeah, you've seen it before. So they just didn't really manage to do that at all. He said it looked like a bad reaction. Like they kind of had a general idea of how they should or where they should play, but they didn't know the details of how they should play it together as a team. Because he said they were all just in these isolated pockets. You had just one tank from Raid just being caught in this position, and then Invil just seemed to go and find the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Just going together as a
picking up those guns, and then at the end, it's like almost like the first Himmels, you know. On the first Himmels, it was closer, but again, Invil had those extra guns because they were picking them off in smaller groups, you know. So they ended up with a lot of low HP guys, but they had more of them. And guns over, I'd rather have 7 guns against 4 and 2k HP down than have those 4 guns and 2k HP up, because you just have more room to work with because you have more tanks. It's that simple.
Yeah, so that was 2-0 for Invil there on Himmels, and we will be going into Ents now. And again, I wonder if we will see, again, a similar kind of... I mean, that wasn't too aggressive from Invil. They had their plan. They just wanted to push on the 1-2. It's a fairly normal play from the north, especially when you've got a lot of 279s. I wonder how we'll see them play Ents, though. He said we've seen quite a few TDs come in the last game. 3 to 4.
We can see. I don't know if we're going to see Raid with that many TDs, but Invil likes their E3s, to be honest, so I wouldn't be surprised to not see those. And also,
I think they bought 3 or 4 yesterday as well, didn't they? Remember,
they had like 4.
You getting sniped from the back.
They had like 4, I think. But also, got to remind that this is, you know, still upper bracket, which means that Raid is not Invil's not at match point yet, and Raid still has a little bit of room to play with because it's best of 7.
Yeah, so obviously last game best of 5. This game is a best of 7 because we are in the upper bracket. And let's see what we've got here. We got Mayo picking that E100. 3 TDs there from
Invil.
Raid.
Invil also 3 threes. And for Raid it's 2 threes and an E4. A CS though on Ensk. We don't see this very often.
Yeah, I want to see how he'll be used. Maybe just to get some early information. Yeah, Smiley probably going to just get towards the cross, destroy the houses. He will get the spot on Panzer Fury. And are they able to pick up some big damage here? You've got the E100 sniping, a couple of chieftains. Any early damage, I would imagine that's exactly what the CS is for, just to get those spots, but they're not managing to connect any shots, unfortunately.
Neither team really able to connect any shots so far, and I would say that in this regard, Raid is ahead actually, because they have the tanks in the city controlling it already. Smiley's going to get out, and they have 3 tanks holding the field, where Invil has 4 tanks on the field, but in different positions, not that great positions. Then Smiley's now joining as well, so it's 4v4 on the field, which is fine for Raid actually, because they have the city under firm control. I think this is okay for them.
Yeah, so it's similar to, well, somewhat similar to what we saw last game, where we had Hive trying to take these positions in the city, but you can see it's panning out a lot differently. So you're actually having Raid kind of flex around, just taking towards the 1-2 line, just establishing that defensive control that they have at the moment. In those positions in the windows, making sure that they actually have control of the 1-2 line, and it looks like they might actually be trying to pressure down that line.
We see this, yeah. We see this movement, but in return you see this movement on the field here for Invil. They're both counteracting each other. Invil realizing that they cannot lose the field.
Here as well.
Yeah, and Invil is realizing that they can't lose the field, so they're taking it back. They're gonna kill Destroyer, Lemmy, and Timmy. They all went a little bit too far, really. Gotta say again, Raid is giving this game almost to Invil, because they're pushed up too far on the field, and now they're scrambling, running, trying to get back to some defensive positions, which they're not reaching all in all, and they're taking so much damage for it. In the meantime, Invil is losing their 1-2 lines, but it's going to be much, much cleaner for Raid. Invil and Raid counter-clock rotations here against each other. Smiley goes down now, followed by Orchek, then Never's completely surrounded, Conrad and Amkopan. It's funny how these teams are just doing clockwise rotations against each other, but again, I think that Invil might be able to do it better than them, because they have more tanks to pick up here on the rails area.
Yeah, I don't know. The E3s actually, well, the E3s probably will get caught out as well, but Invil actually put more tanks into the city, I think. So they're actually going to get more tanks taken down. And I actually think it might be able to work here from Raid, because they're going to pick up more tanks initially. It depends how the E3s on Raid can stay alive, and then they will be able to only lose maybe 4 tanks on the field. And you can see Invil were a lot heavier, almost with like 50% split as the game progressed. So they would be able to pick up more tanks, but yeah, Hannes going down. Ricochet in a bit of a defensive position, but unless they pick up Panzer Fury and Sokar quickly, they're not going to be able to do that crossing damage, and it puts Ricochet in a bit of a tricky scenario. But actually, Invil going down towards the rails, and I think actually the game is kind of stabilized and potentially in the favor of Raid.
Yeah, so far Raid is okay. They still have to deal with those 2-line positions. Now there's E3s in them, which is not ideal for the side of Raid, because E3 is fully hold on, but the issue for Invil is that all of their tanks are kind of stuck in this area. Senti and Kacha are in a 1v1, but Alex is coming from the side, which will mean that Senti is in trouble. Kacha didn't risk it against Senti, and it's actually a good play, Barry, because 436, Alex picks it up in one shot, but it's an actual 50-50 that you don't always want to take.
Ooh, good shot there from Rexar, making Kacha a one-shot. That was a good shot from the rails, just using the extra angle and not leaving his chieftain Ketsai alone there, you know, giving him some support, because now I think Raid had a potential avenue in towards the base, because you had Ketsai on low HP, but again, they're just managing to add these supporting angles using that second rail. As you said, that second rail on ends can be so influential, especially in these late game scenarios when people don't have full health and you've got E3s there, high alpha. Just being able to do that one shot could really change the game, because you get caught by surprise.
Oh, Alex crossing over. Alex taking a lot of damage. I don't like this that much. Those positions here, where this guy is, you can shoot under the rail and actually pen him if it's a Chief and an E3. That's a little annoying. That's something that Invil might have to suffer the fate of at some point. But the HP is completely even. And for Invil, defending like this, when they have rails control, it's not that bad. They need to get Ricochet into the game somehow, right? Ricochet is the tank that they need somehow to use.
You got Piotrix holding that angle. Is he going to get that first shot on Ricochet? Yeah, he is. And I think that's what they were worried about. Raid just bleeding HP all over. Ricochet managing to pick up that 279. But again, as you said, kind of at what cost? Because Piotr could potentially even get a second in here, a second in on Ricochet here, and then that HP that they had, all that remaining HP on that full health E3, will just be basically obliterated. And they're trying to make something happen here in the north. Can maybe Old Kings pick up a shot on DJ? If DJ is gonna go back, he might be able to pick him up there, and that could be crucial. But he doesn't manage to connect the shot.
Sokar looking at Alexander there, trying to connect the angle and return Invil up in HP now though, because Raid had to make moves to get back towards the rails. Now Ricochet is crossing over to take down DJ and to take down Piotr, but Ricochet picks up DJ, Rexar picks up Kalian, Tisek and Sokar now moving forward as well, and Invil seem to have stabilized here, Barry. It does not look like Raid will be able to win the rails fast enough for this to make a difference, as Alex is now getting flanked by Sokar. Piotr picks up Ricochet. It's going from bad to worse as Tisek picks up another, and that leaves 4 tanks standing for the side of Raid.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Raid will be able to close this one out. There was quite a lot of hope, I think, actually. There was a chance, a period in that game where I actually thought Raid were on top, but they've, as you said, it was taking that 2-line from Invil in the late game. That proved to be basically the killing blow here on Raid, because they were just unable to really fight against that because they were defending as well. A nice shot there from Old Kings. Unfortunately, doesn't manage to pen the second one. That could have been big. Getting rid of that E4 might have allowed them to do something here with the 3 remaining tanks they have. But I think Invil will pick this up.
Invil's making a little bit of, you know, not the greatest peaks here and there, allowing some HP to go back into the favor of Raid, but still that extra number of guns. Rexar now picks up Old Kings, he's down and out, and then his E4 buddy Bunz, I think, will soon follow him to the grave, and still, even with not the greatest traits at some point, Tisek now on 5, looking for that top gun, and Invil, yet another close game, yet again, slightly edging ahead. And Tisek with the top gun. 3-0 for Invil, now it is match point.
Really nice, yeah. As you said, Invil just coming out on top. All these games were pretty close. I mean, there were chances from both teams to win kind of all of these games. But Invil coming out with a 3-0 so far. Looking, at least just at the scoreline, kind of a really dominating performance from them. But Raid have put up a good fight so far, but they just haven't been able to clinch a single round, which is pretty unfortunate for them. CS, I'm not sure exactly what
I like
use.
the idea of it. He always gets it's preferred spawn, right, Barry? When you pick a heavy or TD or whatever, mediums always spawn towards the field, I think, if I'm not wrong. So he always gets the spot to spot the crossing. So if Invil goes full field, they'll always have a guaranteed spot on like everything and should be able to nail the crossing. And I don't even think it was really the CS issue that they lost. They pushed up on the field too fast, too soon. You cannot do this early, because Invil can still be there and beat you to position. You need to control the field, wait to see if Invil makes a move, rotates towards the field. Like, if they hold on the field and do this 1-2 move that they did, after seeing how many times we spotted, they would clean sweep this game. It wouldn't even be close, because it would take a long time for Invil to clean the field up. Now, Raid tanks were running, taking damage, not getting safe, dying on the way there, or being too low HP to actually fight.
Yeah, I said the CS, he didn't do too much, but again, it's just that initial spot. And I think what it actually forced was Invil to kind of react and actually take the city. I don't know if you saw the way that they were driving. They wanted to go towards the field with a few more tanks. But they actually then kind of just sat on that 5-line, not crossing over, so they didn't take too much damage from the Raid guys at the back. And then they played in the city, and then Raid did have a bit of an overmatch there. It wasn't the cleanest fight in the city. I expected, with the number of tanks that Raid had, to maybe pick it up a bit more cleanly. And, you know, we did see one chieftain from Invil managing to kind of run into the late game, only getting picked up by Alex there. Yeah. And they said just this execution maybe wasn't on the same level from like Raid. It was just a little bit below par, because I said they had so many tanks in that city. They could have cleaned it up a lot faster. It took them a lot longer than it should have, I think. Because they made a nice play kind of around the 1-line, kind of catching Invil a bit by surprise. I said we had the kind of that diagonal on the D-line, which they managed to just kind of get into the tanks of Invil who were in the windows, you know, when they played that aggressive D-line, E-line. and then you have tanks here in the courtyard fighting in the windows, and they caught a few of the tanks from Invil by surprise. But it just wasn't the cleanest engagement.
No, it wasn't, and it was nice to see counterclockwise rotations, but I feel like Invil was just slightly ahead the whole time. Raid now with the double E3, singular E4, 150B, 5 to 7 9s, and the rest Chiefs. Invil 4 E3s, 6 Chiefs, and the rest 2 7 9s.
Yeah, 150B there from Raid as well, and wonder exactly how it's going to go, because they do have, as you said, that bit of a lighter lineup. We got the 4 E3s versus 2 from Raid, so might see Invil playing a bit heavier on the rails. They're actually going more towards the field, and I think then you're going to have the E3s just locking down the rails, and this lineup I think is pretty good from Invil. I'm kind of liking this already.
Invil going mainly towards the field, though. They're going to have to make a reaction off of this, as it's only Katja there by himself holding it. He's going to try and run away, but he is going to face a lot of E3s when he's running. I'm not even sure he makes this, Barry, to be honest.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. Because they said Invil also, the tanks that they have, the way that they're going to use them is now that they've always got the rails control, because they said they've got the 4 E3s. Katja can never really run. He's going to get caught. If he tries to run, he should take a lot of damage. There you go, double E3. He's gone, triple E3. This is like I said, Katja just basically being caught out of position, because just the lineup of Invil tells you that you can't really play like that.
In return,
you're never going to be able to run.
In return, though, Invil is now taking over the second rail, which is the one we talked about. A good move, a solid move coming out here as well. Kalium's going to be forced out of that position very soon, because you can't keep sitting there once the Invil team does this. And now it's going to be a city hold against a team that has all map control. In 9 out of 10 cases, Barry, slowly but surely, you lose too much HP, you lose too much positions, and you die.
Yeah, I'm wondering exactly how Raid are going to be able to kind of pressure this, because again, you got Monster in the window putting a big shot there. Although I think it's this two line. This 2 line again, we say is crucial. It wasn't Monster putting the shot. It was actually one of the E3s in the city. On the
second rail,
shooting people in at the city. Just these angles that they're creating with the E3s, it's pretty impressive to see.
And even the issue is, Barry, that there are lines that exist on this map. So from this area here, you can shoot this here. There's a tiny angle that exists, right? So you can shoot towards there. But the issue is that from there, the tanks from Raid, they have to be able to watch this. Now, that's not possible if you have to watch towards the north and towards the east in triangles, as in Time Destroyers. So slowly but surely being pressured back, and then Invil has control over this here. This here also allows them to spot down like this. So you have the spot on this always, so you know how much is rotating backwards and forwards. So Invil is free to just rotate tanks back if they want to, and then pressure the base together. They have so many options. They can repush city, they can repush field. The only small issue I see for them is that they have those 4 E3s, which are, it's not really great to repush.
Yeah, what is important here is look at the HP. Raid 5k down, because this is the other thing. Raid are defending, but what usually happens is if the attacking team, you said they've got a lot of control here, if they do manage to get some HP advantage as well, you often see that team then coming in to win, because they do need to push here, Invil. Raid, as they are defending, and Invil need to try and find that killing blow, because Raid can just sit and just hold, but they're not being able to do that safely. And that's probably going to be the reason why I think Raid are just looking not very good at the moment.
Well, I mean, the HP doesn't look that great for them either. 5,000 down, a gun down, Link surviving on almost nothing, trying to hide to the best of his abilities. Yeah, Invil's just chipping away, which is fine. They can do this. They can just slowly chip away the HP of the side of Raid. They have time, and they even have time to go on a strat sketch, Barry, and discuss what they want to do as their next move. This is all available to them.
I was actually just thinking that what is Invil's kind of killing blow here? You got these tanks down here being able to just maintain the control, and I think
normally it's
potentially
a base
even
push.
aggressing the E3s
Normally
down
it's a
the
base
2
push, to be honest.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They've got all that control. You said Raid don't have a lot of information. I was thinking you've got a lot of tanks here from Invil, but they can pretty much just go all the way down here and kind of get unspotted.
You don't have to make it hard. Like, you just control the angle from here Like you just control this angle down, you take further down the rails, and then you make a swing on towards the base. There's zero chance that Raid ever holds this, but Invil disagrees. They want to repush them in the city.
Yeah, they are going towards the city. They're taking a little bit of damage on the cross, and I think they're actually going to try and take this B2 corner. You see two 279s there, well, a couple more 279s. They got the 50B in the back. This might not look so great because actually Raid are re-pushing. They're trying to go and just take Invil down, basically. They're just taking the full aggression, trying to clear these tanks, but I don't think they will have enough. You got the crossfires from Raid also from that 279 in A1. It's, as we know, it's very difficult to kill that guy, and it looks like Raid might not actually be able to eliminate the crossfire.
Well, it's a last-ditch, last-effort attempt here from Raid to try and stabilize the game, and even with getting those picks, even with getting a little bit of a surprise on Invil, you could say they're still trailing in HP. They're trailing even more in numbers. They've lost 6. Invil just lost 1. So far, Invil doing what they do basically every tournament and look to be winning the upper bracket finals to put themselves into the grand final already, because Raid, they look down and out, defeated, battered and bruised. They've had some close rounds that could have brought this to a 2-2 at this point, which could be maybe fair if you think about it. But at the end of the day, Invil in the clutch situations just coming out ahead and keeping the guns alive, which they are doing very well in this game yet again, and look to make it 4-0. And Raid gonna be sent to fight with their brothers and sisters from Tilt Fists in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good performance here from Invil. This round, I said, just even from the start, I just liked the kind of the strategy behind what Invil were trying to do. And as I said, within kind of the first 60 seconds, you never really thought the game was gonna kind of run away from them. Invil looked in control almost from the get-go. I said they had a decent lineup, using it well as well, taking the rails with the E3 advantage, taking all the map control, and then just bleeding the HP away from Raid, you know, taking a 5k HP advantage. And I said it's the strategy, but then also the execution where you're able to take that HP advantage, get those cheeky shots in here and there, you know, using the E3s on the 2 line. They get 1 or 2 shots, and that advantage just was always increasing as the game went on.
It's extremely hard to pull. In general, I think Insane will concur with me when we get to the analyst desk that holding City on Ensk is a thing that has been looked at. We've looked at it as well, and it's been concluded too hard to actually be able to be done against a decent team. For the simple fact that the angles, the positions, everything works against you. Everything works against you. The only way it ever works is if they're slow on rotation. So you push City almost straight, they're going full field, and they're slow on going back. Now, Invil wasn't slow on going back. They pulled back basically enough immediately. They got a free kill on Katra as well. They pushed down their ETDs down the rails, and Hive. Raid didn't even have the tanks. The only way they could maybe even work it then is to fully overpush.
There's a lot of team damage there.
Yeah, maybe some trolling.
Yeah, maybe towards the end. I imagine so. Yeah.
But holding the city in this regard, if you don't, it only almost ever works if you run a B line straight, Barry. But holding from this, it's not even the right tanks to be done with. Tornado, I think it was Tornado or Corm. I think it was Tornado actually tried it to hold like that, and they had such heavy tanks, and they still didn't make it work. But you know.
Yeah, but I said that. I mean, you could focus. There are 2 ways to look at it, right? You can focus on Invil playing well, or Raid maybe just not.
I
up to the same
actually
level.
don't think that Raid played that bad, by the way. Like, I think the first 3 rounds could have gone literally almost either way. It's this last round where they didn't really have a chance at, but it's 3-0, so it's kind of down in morale as well. But Barry, enough from us. You'll be back. I'll be back. But right now, it's time for the Kihan and Insane Show.
Hello there. I guess you should be able to hear us. I guess we'll be coming on stream shortly.
Magic trick.
I guess
Here you go.
production not even ready here, as no one expected this swift of a match. Crazy stuff. 4-0. And mind you, those 2 teams already met in the group stage, and there it was actually Raid taking the 3-2 in the tiebreaker. So, yeah, what did we just witness?
To be fair, Invil dominating like yesterday. Raid, they had a lot of close rounds that they could win, but I felt like players-wise, communication-wise, it was just smoother on the Invil side. They also recovered some rounds, like that first similar rounds. that was probably gonna go Raid way after watching the openings. But Invil, they managed to play really well as a team, pick the tanks one by one. They shoot well, they communicate well, and they just deserve to win that game. They're gonna be then moving to the big finals of the tournament, which is a BO9, and they are gonna be either facing Raid or Tilt Fists that are gonna be fighting in the losers bracket finals now.
Yes, indeed. The grand finals, obviously, where Invil is now waiting, are going to be a best of 9. Now, the match we're about to witness is a best of 5. And this means that there is not a lot of, time and space to slip up for either team, as we just saw in the first match today, where Hive was beaten by the Tilt Fists. Yeah, 3-0, it can just go like that, and you're out. Both of those teams now need to worry about this. Tilt Fists obviously coming from the lower bracket anyway, so they're used to this. They have not seen any other format than this. And obviously we're going to give both of the teams that are playing now some time to sort out their pick and bans, and also for the players to probably have a little break. But yeah, meanwhile, I think the replays of the match we just witnessed already, so let's hop over to those.
Yeah, first of all, we had that Himmels that I just talked about. As you could see, the opening from Raid, it was pretty good. Double CS against one on the heels for the overmatch to take the hill for free. Tanks already in the 1-2 lines ready for that push, but Invil utilizing those 260s to angle up. They did trade pretty well, and you could see that Raid, they wanted to actually make that repush happen, but those 50Bs were pretty late to the hit. When the repush happened, Smiley pushed a bit alone there, and the Invil tanks in a really good crossfire here. The HP was almost all the time in Raid's favor, but you have to also to take in consideration the 50B clips coming into action, but Invil holding strong in those positions even without the hill control, and they managed to pick those tanks which were key to get.
Yes, indeed. And in the end there, Bunza, obviously, that were, by the way, I checked, the only 2 shots he bounced this game. Unlucky for him that gets shown on camera. But yeah, Invil with the superior amount of guns, even though like Raid is up 2k HP now, but the superior amount of guns, and also that Alex is still on the hill, his 2k HP not contributing in that situation. Just coming back to bite Raid in their butt, and it is Invil just like that, 1-0 up. On their own Himmelsdorf defense, and then came Himmelsdorf number 2, also slightly close, but I felt like Raid, they had some tanks in some positions where they should have run away earlier.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of teams actually play those really hill control tactics. First of all, I think Jagify in his 279, he could run. He could have the info on time and actually run, because that's a free pick for the side of Invil. This time they decided to use the same lineup, but actually to use the CSs on the lower side. And after picking Jagify for free, it's Haladin out of position. So mistakes from the side of Raid, HPs are pretty even, but those free picks are massive. And the straight cap pressure possibly for the side of Invil, they still have to clean up a lot of tanks, but look at Raid. They're spread all over the map. You don't see them play as a team. Meanwhile, Invil is just moving in as a solid group of tanks and just picking them up one by one.
Yeah, it just felt like you had this big hit squad by Invil just having free pickings with people just left out in the open. I mean, yeah, Jackifa, I don't think there was any way for him to really retreat, but Aladdin, he should have run from that K-line. If you see that many tanks approaching and you don't have any backup, then you should be gone, long gone before the enemy tanks arrive. Then, Invil once again on the defensive side, this time on Ensk, but as we have seen, this Polish team, they don't really care about defending or attacking, they just push straight, like, every time.
I mean, on that side of the map, on Hansk, you possibly need to actually go aggressive initially if you don't go for the stack on the green side. So that's what they did, and they managed to actually surprise Raid because they pushed on the green, so they had another match here. In return, Raid took their overmatch in the city, so it was pretty even during that match, but you have to keep in consideration that after that, Invil was the team defending and having the race control, and that was a massive advantage on their book. Raid not really finding the opening after picking all those tanks in the city, and the Polish team just on point. All the tanks on low HP but alive, the crossfires, the communication, and that was already a 3-0 for them.
We now see some cleanup here being done, but in the end, the problem for Raid was that Invil really had that second rail control, and they were able to punish any and every move of Raid. They were able to early spot it, and then basically the HP advantage that Raid had, it would dissipate before they could even close the distance towards the Invil tanks and start fighting them properly. Also, those Chieftains and E3s from second rail, when they are behind those half-high train cars, I guess, they are almost invincible.
Definitely. And to finish that match, it was this time Invil on the attack, possibly the stronger side. We had a mistake from Kacha of the raid team trying to cross back. It was not possible due to the Invil's opening. Invil just controlling the rails, controlling the city push, and that opening, like he mentioned it has been tried in the past. It was like Tornado with Nesqui. That just doesn't work. Invil knows how to play around it. They just hold, they lock all the angles, they take the HP advantage, they repush into those windows up here, and then they force straight into a pretty suicidal repush, like you could see. But the HPs and the tank advantage was just massive, and that's how the Polish team just took a clean of the German team.
Yep, Invil just showing what they're made of here, really. I thought that Raid would be able to take some rounds, not necessarily win this match here, but possibly take some rounds. But we are left with sort of a speedrun any percent here today on the stream, as in both of the matches, the losing team hasn't been able to post even a single round onto the board. Yeah, that is very rarely happening, to be honest. But yeah, now we're sort of going to go towards the guessing game of Tiltfist against Raid. And I see some of the pick ban has been done already, not entirely though. We are going to see Himmelsdorf and Cliff as the first two maps. So, not necessarily the longest maps to be played, right?
That's interesting. I mean, those two teams, I'm thinking especially about the FC's Banter and Smiley, they know each other, so that's going to be a pretty interesting match against the two. Himmelsdorf, Cliff, the probably most common maps we can have during those 15v15 tournaments. The advantage maybe for Tilt knowing what Raid actually played today on that map, maybe they actually took notes out of that and they're gonna try to play around it. But that's definitely a close match I can see coming.
Now, talking about the Himmelsdorf a little more, since we just saw it from Raid, do you think Raid has... I guess Raid would have prepared more than one tactic per side, actually, especially since... Was it them picking it? No, it was Tiltfist picking it. So they picked a map that they just saw by Raid. But I would think they have more than one tactic. What's your take on that? Do you think they have three? Should they make it through the lower bracket?
I think in general you have to have a really solid main tactic, and then you also have to really work around the understanding. Because whenever you work a lot around the understanding of the map, what you can do, you just have to analyze then what your opponents can actually play, what they actually played, and just adapt over it. You can just go for the heal, go for some aggression on the lower side. But I think those teams, they need to make something simple, some pushes. I think they're gonna blow on the lower side.
Alright, so as a goodbye sort of by us, let's do our pick'ems live on stream here. I'm going with a 3-1 for Tiltfists. What about you?
Actually, 3-2 Tiltfist also.
Alright, there we have it. What did the casters think about that one?
Well, Kihan, let me put Barry straight on the spot. Barry.
There's some interesting predictions. So it's Tilt versus Raid. I'm going for Raid to win this, actually.
I'm going for Raid as well.
I'm going to say, yeah,
3-1.
3... I'm going to go 3-2, you know?
Okay.
Okay, but different. You kind of get into me. You say that I'm stealing your scores, you know, taking your predictions. I'm going to go 3-2 this time. I think Tilt have played pretty well, but as the analyst did mention earlier, now we will have Himmels coming out first, I believe, for this match. And, you know, Raid looked pretty okay against Invil. Obviously, they didn't pick up a round. But maybe now they just needed a bit of a warm-up, you know what I mean? And they did look okay. The overall strategy on Himmels from Raid looked okay. Some decent performance with some slight adjustments. They're even ahead in both of those rounds at one point, but just not able to see it through. So now they've got those fingers warmed up. Their aim's going to be just that little bit better. I think they might be able to at least get a 1-1 there.
We'll have to see. Tiltfist now had the opportunity to sit down, watch the last match. I didn't have that much of a break though. But Barry, what do you prefer? Playing, even though you just lost, and being warmed up at least, or having the opportunity to chill for a little bit and then going back into it?
So I think it definitely depends on actually kind of the team and the team environment, because when you've just lost, even though it was in the upper bracket and it was to a team that we would have expected to get to the final, Invil, you would have expected to see them, as you said, they often win that upper bracket, they get to the final,
And then they lose.
Maybe, yeah, that has been a theme with them in the past.
In the past, yeah, quite a few times, Barry.
But they did manage to pick up a tournament not so long ago. But yeah, that was kind of their trick, getting to the final very convincingly,
using all their strats, and then they they get complacent. They watch the match and then they lose.
Yeah, but maybe this time it'll be different. But anyway, that's in the game after. Let's focus here on the game that we have right now. As you said,
Himmelsdorf and Cliff. We haven't seen Prokrovka a single time this tournament.
Yeah, any particular reason why? Is it just
no
people are preferring to play these
usually
balls,
Raid and Invil don't really mind playing Prokhorovka. They like those aggressive quick pushes on it. They've played a lot in the past, so maybe they're keeping some stuff there either side. But
the only thing I can think of is maybe because of a lot of these matches are BO5s, BO7s. Prokhorovka can sometimes be a bit of a gamble. Owen Cliff, you said it's a good map for picking up a 2-0 if you're very well prepared. If you're a well-oiled machine, you can play it well. You can get that 2-0. Himmels, again, pretty similar. You said the map is quite balanced from both sides, so a decent opportunity for a 2-0 there. Whereas Proc, sometimes you might be forced into a bit of a gamble. There is kind of one alley on the map where you're going to have to gamble, either if you're going to the 0 line, the 1 line, or doing something around the middle. And maybe it's just because of those shorter games here, the BO5s, the BO7s. People are just not willing to take that risk and preferring to just go for these big brawls.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Himmels and Cliff, I do expect to see a lot of brawls. Insane mentioned the lower side brawls is actually what I would expect between both Raid and Fist. Between those two to occur. We see a lot of tendency to fight on the lower side from either side. Now on Himmels, less hill orientated than we used to see in the past, to be honest. We haven't had a single actual hill fight with more than 2 or 3 tanks in any of the games.
Yeah, we've seen a few times it's basically been one team either goes with a load of tanks, as in maybe 5. We haven't seen a full fight, but you've seen, I think yesterday wasn't it, Hive going with a couple of tanks and then just running away, basically because they weren't able to fight. I think that was against Invil in that game where Invil kind of just took the hill with a group of 5 tanks, and Hive weren't really able to kind of answer in any way really. And you've just seen CS is used on the hill quite a lot, obviously because it's so fast. And then putting in some shots, gaining control of that courtyard. That's what we've seen the hill used most for. But remember, there used to be that meta, as you said, where everyone just goes to the hill, has a massive brawl with those chieftains, and now with the 279. But we might see that come out this time.
Yeah, me predicting a 3-1 in favor of a Raid is going to be a bold prediction. I mean, I'm already fine since I lost the last one pretty harshly. I think I said 4-3 for Raid. They just forgot to pick up those 4 rounds, to be honest. I don't know what happened.
It just happens.
It just happens, dude. It's, it's just like in randoms, man. It just happens. I should be full HP, but I'm not, Copium.
Indeed. I should be full HP right now. Should be.
Yeah.
A lot of these people should be in full HP.
Yeah, and an improved aiming unit would have hit that shot.
Exactly. Improved aiming unit. Best equipment, other than Ramo, of course. And
Barry, quick trivia question for you personally. We haven't seen the tank here, but I am a big lover of the M48 pattern personally. And I recently saw one of my big idols, who I shall not name, he who shall not be named, play the pattern with the equipment of Vents, CVS, and Turbo, Barry. Now, can you give me a quick insight to why this is the top meta equipment from the pattern?
You must not understand, the pattern has high view range.
Yeah, but wouldn't you pick optics then?
No, because it's all about speed, violence, momentum, you know, getting into the game very quickly and being able to catch your enemy by surprise.
I got another question, Mr. Barry. Pretend that we're in school. Mr. Barry, if you want to get into the fight quickly, wouldn't you need the DPM of the rammer?
How does that help you get into the fight quickly? You know what
No,
I mean?
but when you get to the fight, you want to be able to do damage in the fight, no?
No, you're working with your team, Dak. Remember, this is a team game. This is the difference between me and you. You are just a very individual player, you know, always caring about DPG that goes
Yeah, Barry, and that
so
is
well when you play an E50 on the IU.
Barry, this is exactly why I have 3 marks on my Caro and you don't.
No. The reason why you have 3 marks on your Caro is because you played it when it first came out, and the marks were probably at like 4K.
No, they definitely weren't, Barry. Because it took
Maybe
me like
5.
700 games, dude. So I don't think so.
700?
700.
Come on, dude.
Barry,
Get on my level.
Barry doesn't even remember the first 700 games. They've just become a ruse in his head.
Actually, no. Within
Oppressed
500
numbers.
games, I got to 94.98
Ah, that's
or
so
97.
That's so lucky, dude. That's very unfortunate.
Very unlucky.
I'm
That's a damage roll away.
Yeah, that's just
RNG
that,
copium.
that makes me so sad. Barry, please. You need to.
Why
if
is there
you-
a smile on your face? It
It's-
makes me so sad.
Listen, dude, sometimes it's better to smile than to cry. You know what I mean? I'm smiling the tears away that I feel out of compassion for your hardship and endeavors throughout the Cairo forever mark.
Forever, pal. Dude, I'm telling you, Santa is coming next month, dude. Santa is coming, and I know what he's getting me for Christmas this year.
No, that's the
Trust
biggest
me.
copium I've heard on this whole stream, to be honest.
He
Right
comes
there.
every year. He gives me the best presents, and
Yeah.
this year
What did
I
you
put
get?
on my list Carrot 3 months.
What did you get last year?
Probably like a 279 wasn't. It was a bit late. I think that was in like March, wasn't it? You know, so he gave it to me a bit late. But he still gave me the present.
Better late than never, right? Anyways,
Exactly.
enough derailing. Raid against Tilt. I don't know. I'm thinking back to the first match. Fists did well, right? But I'm also gonna think back was how much of it was Fists being amazing and how much of it was Hive just being not up to standard.
Yeah, I said I out of all the teams we've seen play today, we saw Tilt and Raid play. I think Raid probably put in a better performance, and obviously they didn't get the results. But in terms of how the teams played, I think Raid were looking pretty strong.
Do we have all the
that's-
possible outcomes? We almost have all the possible outcomes. We just don't have the 3 zeros. Nobody believing in another clean sweep. So if Fists win, we have the 3-1, 3-2 prediction. If Raid win, we have the 3-1, 3-2 prediction. There's a good chance one of us is going to be right here. Again, Raid, 1e4, double CS, 5 Chieftains, rest 279. Tilt Fist, 1 CS, 4 Chieftains, double 50B, and the rest 279s.
Yeah, interesting that we've seen in these Himmels games that the 50Bs are only being picked by one team.
one team, yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, it used to always be kind of 2 50Bs potentially.
Look, Barry.
was a mainstay.
Barry, the whole side from Raid is going like this, and then zoom in like this, and there's a lot of tanks from Fist on the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tanks down. They have to go into a lower side push really soon. When you don't see pressure, when you don't get pressured on the lower side, you need to be pushing the lower side yourself, because if you don't, you will not win the hill. And also, an ingenious little thing we saw Invil pioneer this even is that they're using the CSs. Oldkins is literally the first tank in his 279, by the way. Turbo setup and pushed by a CS.
As I said, I mentioned it to you yesterday that just the way that 279s are being used on Himmels, it's just amazing to see really. The 279s are getting into the fight so early. They're now going to get
They
basically
can't get
the enemy
penned.
hold down, and they can
can't
angle
get
up.
penned.
Exactly.
They basically
So-
can't get penned. I mean, Alex here, he definitely can get penned in his CS, but in return, I mean, look at this Fist team. They're all peeking out, trying to get these 279s, but they're forgetting about what's the real issue here. The wraparound from the hill, Hebesh. Down and out, back to CIS. Aimlul also back to RU in a second as Hannes picks him up. And now the rest of the Fist team here is getting absolutely battered and bruised and even pounded down from the hill. They come back, they come up, but they're going back down. And now Fist in the meantime has done nothing. They have done nothing. They haven't pushed the lower side at all. They're just starting to pressure it, and this is great for Raid.
Yeah, as you said, they're pushing down that 8 line, but you called that 30, 40 seconds ago, and they've only just managed to try and push that through. They're moving down the 1-2, but the hill's lost, you know, and most probably the game, unfortunately, for Tilt Fist, because There was a nice wraparound from Raid as well, using those 279s aggressively and then sending the Chiefs around the hill, creating that crossfire. So I think Tilfist believed that they might be able to actually fight the 279s, but no. Raid coming around the hill, being able to put in that crossfire.
279 with turbo set up, right? So you have 279 with turbo. On top of that, you have Speed Governor as well, which is important to note for anybody that's watching and wants to copy this into their Clan Wars or whatever. They have Speed Governors as well, which is the 10% engine power consumable. And then they're getting pushed by a CS. Like, that is an insane amount of horsepower. I mean, they're going to lose Mayo here, but this is only for show. Even if they pick up Timmy and rerolls in their tanks, they will never be able to cap, and Raid's coming out strong on their attack as well. You got to remember, for tiebreaker Barry, this is going to be a very fast win.
Yeah, we're just under 3 minutes. It looks like Raid probably will be able to cap this as well. There's only one tank, I think, in the south for Tilfist. He's going to be locked in the alley, in the H line. He's going to go down as well. So Raid picking it up in just under 3 minutes here. So really strong performance of Raid, as you said. That's actually what I've been waiting to see, is the 279s being used on the hill.
In general,
in like a not so standard fashion.
In general, 279, if you compare driving on zero line, right, it's like between 2 and 10 seconds slower than a Chief. It's actually not that much of a difference between the two. Like, 279, it sounds a lot heavier, but even when they just drive up zero line by themselves, it's only 2 to 10 seconds slower. But this is completely negated by Bond Turbo, by Speed Governor, by having double CS boost a tank, and it's actually really effective, by the way. The CS boosts.
Abesh peak.
Yeah, it's not always great, by the way, Barry. Even Invil, when they were doing it against Fame in the tournament that they lost, for example, sometimes you are too late with the CSs to do damage from the hill because they are boosting a tank. But in this scenario, when Fist is not pushing the lower side, of course it works.
Yeah, I said it was interesting just to see a nice adaptation. And as you said, once the 279s get to that position, they're practically, well, not impenetrable, but they're very, very difficult to pen. As you said, sometimes that overmatch with the Chief versus the 279, and the 279 just has that slight angle, they're going to obviously not get penned a lot, but the Chieftains pretty much just going to get penned every time just because they don't have that hull armor. And
it was lost no matter what. Even if they boosted Chieftains into that position, like, yeah, the 279s was neat because they couldn't get penned at all. Basically, like, they literally couldn't get penned because they're above. So it's Cupola Zona. But even with Chiefs, when you focus this much on zero line, you almost have to just fully push it and kill it to have a chance, because once they come around the hill, it's game over. It's straight away game over.
Yeah, also, they did have the CS from the side of Tiltfist getting that information out, but they didn't, as you kind of mentioned, they didn't really react of it. So they had the CS set up in position, I think it was it Manfred, being able to spot out the whole time, getting the information, but I think as soon as he saw 279s being boosted, he backed up and then didn't get the spot, I think, on all the Chieftains.
They don't need a spot anymore. When this happens and the 279s are driving straight, it is a hill commit. It's just info that it's deductible info. You see this, you know what the rest is doing.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't think they reacted to it. I think they were waiting on that information.
They had a 279. They had like a lot of 279s lower side, and Banter was one of them. And he even tried to drive back up to the hill in his 279. Now, you're always late to the party. Late to the party when you do
unless you're boosted by a CS, as we've seen. But
yeah, I mean, you're always late. They can't win with this strat. They have to push lower side, hold the hill, maybe on like from zero line, from behind the corner, to force Raid to commit into it, but definitely not like this. Never like this.
Not like this, indeed. Losing the round there, and we'll see if Raid can pick up the second round here on Himmels, and this is a best of 5 as well. So, as you said, being able to get that quick attacking victory just at the start and potentially being able to pick up a 2-0 could maybe see Raid play Invil again in the final.
Maybe. And it's always a different dynamic after the first match. But anyways, next one here on the Himmelsdorf. Tilt, Fist, double CS, 5 Chiefs, double 50B, rest 279s. Raid, 1 CS, 1 E4, 6 279s, rest Chiefs.
Sneaky E4 there as well, coming out from Raid. Just trying to think exactly how this will pan out. You know, you said you got the CS advantage there from Tiltfist and the 50Bs. And you have the E4 from Rage, so E4 usually going to go to the 2-3 line, as we can predict, and he is moving just like that as well. Alex is going towards the hill. But they're sending quite a few chieftains up here from Raid. So they've got 5 down basically and 10 up. So you've got the 3-2-7-9's chieftain and then E4 on the lower side. And then from Tiltfist, you've got a pretty similar setup, but you do have the extra 4 tanks there on the 8 line not going up.
Yeah, they're sending a decent amount of tanks on the hill, but I think Raid has simply too many for this to push this. So it has to be some sort of hold with rotations later on. They can't push it, right? So this is going to be one of the slower games, maybe.
I think on the hill it's a 10 versus 6 Raid with the 10 tanks, Tilt with 6 tanks, but Tilt are actually playing aggressive. Look, they're going forward. They're trying to push. Don't know exactly how this will work because I don't know what they're planning. It looks like they're actually moving around the hill as well. They're going for the aggression here. I don't know if it will work for them at all because look, Bunza, Hannes, Ricochet, Old Kings going in on the corner. You got 4 chieftains versus 2 chieftains and 2 CSs. They're going to get absolutely destroyed. Fly, negative. Going to go down very, very quickly. And it's going to be interesting to see how Tiltfist can react on the lower side. If they can maybe get into the cap before this hill fight is over. Because that's what's happening here. Raid now being able to push the advantage, as we said. Tiltfist probably playing too aggressive on the hill here. Especially when they really didn't have the tanks to fight it.
They're doing this for a purpose. They're trying to lock the Raid tanks into a fight on the hill. And yes, they're going to lose 3 guns for that, but in return, they're pushing the lower side. They're trying to keep as much of the Raid tanks focused on this hill engagement, focused on this hill fight, so they cannot help their tanks on the lower side, and they're trying to overrun them in the meantime. It's usually at a very, very heavy cost, as Siki and Radio there can see that already they took a lot of damage as well. Now they're going for rerolls. They could bring this back, Barry, because the cap is going to be open, and then once you have the cap, you come back into a situation where you are doing what Infil did yesterday to Hive, if you remember. You are able to pick up the guns one by one as they're pushing in, and this is actually not that bad for Fist as you might think so far. This here is an annoying engagement for the side of Fist. It's hard to deal with, but the HP is now recovered, and Alex coming in to have to get that reset immediately gets dropped towards a one-shot. Raid now realizing that Fist is still busy with those tanks in H3, still trying to clean them up, is now pushing beyond the cap, trying to pick up the ones that are on the cap. Siki there going out of the cap even, trying to stay alive. Horse has a wreck to work with, and this Raid push, I think it was okay for what scenario they were in, but now here comes the guns from Fist, here comes the turnaround, the old switcheroo.
Need to look at the other cap as well. The CS is here coming. Manfred, Gonzi, exactly. All this time, even Daki maybe wasn't aware, but actually,
he gets it.
He hits that.
He gets it. But Gonzi should be getting the second reset now as well. A good observation there from Barry about the cap, and it's been fully reset. Like Manfred and Gonzi there, the heroes of the nation that is Fist. But, however, still gotta remember, triple cap pressure is still on for the side of Raid, and it's not happening right now for the side of Fist. Fist is now only pushing back into the cap, triple cap pressure again, so it's gonna have to be Gonzi again, the man in his CS that has to pick up more resets. Smiley still getting some resets as well. Ricochet now getting pushed on by Banter. 7 seconds remain here. Gonzi, 1,253 HP, 810. That makes him a possible 2-shot. Gets double tapped, gets nailed, and it's actually going to be Raid with those 3 tanks on the cap. That's going to be picking up the game. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly if Raid were playing it correctly because I did see a lot of the tanks were coming down from the north, as we saw. They put 3 in the cap, and I was thinking, is it enough? Because you could see they weren't going to hold on to the base.
I'm thinking about it, Barry, now quickly. I mean, it's
okay,
hindsight.
You're thinking. That's a scary thing.
Yeah, you should try it from time to time. So
maybe I'd mark Caro. Sorry, you're going to say it, so I'll say it first.
I mean, if you're already thinking it, I don't have to say it anymore. I mean, it's great that you're self-roasting now.
Living rent free in my head and Chikafa's now.
Yeah, dude, it's just so much free real estate, dude. So much free real estate. Now, Gonzi did reset together with Manfred, Barry, but think about it, right? Gonzi, what way did he run away? 69. Nice. Like, he ran through the A line, right, Barry?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're Gonzi, Barry, doesn't it make more sense that when you get the second reset, that instead of running to the A line, right, to go to the window?
I think that is correct, because in the window, you
can get the resets, you can hide, and they cannot hide from you, and they can't push you because they have to cap.
And you've got that reload advantage. You might be able to get 2 shots out. You know, even if you take 3 shells, for example, he was full HP at the time when he ran, so he could be in the windows.
Basically, he could take those. If he shoots immediately, he could take those 3 shots, reset one, and reset another to get 2 guaranteed resets. Always 2 guaranteed resets for sure.
No, I think you're right there. As soon as you pointed that out, it definitely makes much more sense because he was full HP, and as soon as he was coming back in.
Also, there was time, by the way. As soon as Manfred gets the first reset, if one of the Fist tanks They had like 7 on the cap, I think. They had way more than 3, right? They had plenty, yeah?
Yeah.
If one of their tanks, even a 279, I think, or a Chief, drives back as soon as Manfred gets the first reset, they will get another.
think they might go back in time?
He will make it. He will. It's like 30 seconds when you're fully reset. And in 30 seconds, you can cross down the courtyard of Himmels and get
I mean,
back to the cap.
especially if he was able to get into the windows, just getting the extra reset, yeah, they would have been able to send...
I mean, even if he
another
goes
time
straight
back.
to the even if he goes straight to the 5 line and then Gonzi comes in and he dies, he will still get a reset, you know, with the extra tank, because Gonzi was always a 3-shot.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure as well. The CSs, they kind of were, I think, unsure. I was watching them throughout the battle because I saw them run down from the hill. So, as you said, they were trying to get that commit on the hill to buy some time.
Which was good.
and then
It
they
worked
could-
out, actually.
Yeah.
They committed to more raid tanks than raid needed to win it. So that was good. I wasn't paying attention to the other side of the cap. That's true.
Yeah, so what you had was the CSs, basically the 2 CSs, kind of running around as a hit squad. They were in the north, and I think there was a moment where they were hesitating. They were unsure whether they needed to protect their base or actually go south and win the south. And they went towards the south.
If they
It was a little bit too slow. If they did that a bit quicker,
if they actually
might
came
be able to
back,
get
if they actually came back faster, if somebody was calling that they were winning the fight in the south, then they could actually both go to the window barrier. They had the HP
Yeah.
for it, and then they would
and
both
you
be
can watch
alive.
both angles as well.
And they could just reset, trade HP, reset, force them to push out, and they would always win the game.
Yeah, but unfortunately, as you said, it didn't turn out that way for them. Raid sneaking in, especially with the low health, managing to just sneak 3 tanks into the cap around the back. Pretty...
It's a stolen win, Barry. It's correct.
okay performance.
It's correct from Raid, though. Knowing that they're late to go back to the base, they have to go and reset. Then pushing past the cap was ideal, actually, for this,
It
because
was
they halted.
actually
They
really
halted.
good.
They halted the cap for a while, and they even reset, stayed alive. So that was actually the best possible play there, pushing past into K line, and then pushing over to their base was also the correct play from Raid, because when you have so much overmatch on the hill, you have so much deficit on the lower side that Fist was already ahead. So if Smiley leading said, you know, we need to push 0 line to their base and reset at the same time, it was actually the perfect call. It was the only thing they could still do, because they left too much on the hill. Like we commented yesterday that High, for example, went back from the hill with too many. Raid had too many on the hill still.
Yeah, I said that push going across. I'm glad you called out, because it was quite impressive. Because as we said, you have the
If
H
they don't
line.
do that, they probably... If they don't do that at that moment, because on the H line they were still fighting. If they don't do it at that moment, they probably just lose.
Yeah, because once you take that H line, as we mentioned in Himmels on Himmels earlier, that H line is so crucial, because once you have control of that, you basically just have all these angles overwatching
And the first
cap.
guy,
So
the first guy
crossing
just
over
dies.
there just negates all of that advantage that they were that Till had on the lower side. So it's really good from those 3 279s from Raid, and those combined platoons. Basically, you know, you had that north platoon of 3 tanks, the platoon of 279s in the south. Just putting together good plays, buying each other enough time, and then obviously getting the cap out. But we will be going into Cliff, where I don't think we will be seeing the cap out. You often see these big brawls in the middle or around the donut, but not so much at the moment. You know, the donut's more of the supporting position on towards the middle. It'll be interesting to see what lineups we've got here. Let's see. So we got Kran from Raids.
And it's a 277 against 260 fight again. 4 260s for Fist, 3 277s for Raid and a Chief. So Fist has the heavy number on them, because they also have double Chiefs, so 4 260s. So it's 4v6 in that department. But Raid
And
in return having the CS and 907 advantage.
8 CSs there from Tilt, and I think 6 from Raid. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with them. You've got, I think, you've got 7 CSs going up towards the hill here from Tilt Fists. And let's see how Raid use there. Also, their big number of CSs, the 6 CSs. What are they going to do with them? Because
They're going around the hill with some, or not.
Just with 2, yeah. So
with 2.
again, you got Raid. What we've seen them do previously is this kind of old strat where you just send so many CSs to the hill that you do eventually take it, and they're not really taking much damage at all. Actually, only taking 2 shots just to go up, and Siki taking a lot more.
Yeah, but it's going to be 5v4 on the hill, but it's actually not that bad for Fist, as they can just set up angles. It means that Raid can't really do much from the hill. It's more of a passive approach here. But the one thing to keep into mind, Barry, there's one thing that's very open here for the side of Fist, is still the boost. But in return, oh no, this double CS around the hill are actually getting fully
what's
pushed.
going on the 0 line there? You know, you got the the TVP, sorry, and the 907 against the 2 CSs, and I think they've been caught out. They're taking a lot of damage running away. Aim and Skirpy.
Yeah, but they just have to stay alive though. Fist is really missing a guy at K5 right now, so badly. They're really missing a guy on the sniper perch. They're holding down the fort.
Yeah, even just one CS, if they managed to have, if they were able to get him back, which they potentially could, I mean, they're not going to be able to obviously get aim back there.
Oh, but look at Radio. He's starting to slowly get on the hill though in that chieftain. They get a chief on the hill, it's going to be a disaster for... they already have a chief on the hill actually. Killipit already made it in his chieftain. No, Negative already made it in his chieftain.
Yeah, but as you said, you don't have these... this kind of sniper push, so Braid just being able to peek here, and the Cran's actually dropping down.
Sniper perch, yeah, sniper perch doesn't mean anything when the enemy team gets a chieftain on the hill. Like Negative is undefeatable there. You cannot do anything against him.
It's more they've been able to take that initial advantage, and it looks like they're potentially trying to flex now because they've got a decent amount of angles here.
Mid push maybe.
I don't know exactly. Yeah, you got Hannes coming in and being joined by rerolls and another 907 who is full HP. Didn't quite see who that was. Oh, we got Timmy joining in the middle, and you've got the Cran going on the lower side. So we've got on the 1-2, we've got a 3v2 overmatch for Raid, which could be crucial because then it opens up angles into the middle. Until are going to have to do something on the hill here because they're losing a lot of the map right now. So using Negative here effectively is going to be crucial to their only kind of chance of winning this game.
They're going to lose 1-2 in return though, as there's a good rotation there by the Cran and multiple Raid tanks to pick up Manfred and to pick up Fly as well in return. The hill will be won though by the side of Fist, but Raid here with the good rotation, realizing that they are in serious trouble on the hill, realizing that they need to do something in the middle, need to do something in 1-2, dropping off the Cran, which is kind of an unexpected tank, you could say, to drop off and rotate, but it's going well for them right now. This rotation was, again, good stuff from Raid, on point even. And Destroyer, Kalian trying to survive as long as they can. And Fist here, yeah, they were going to win the hill and come up with a desperate attempt to push in to pick up these kills, but it's not going to result in a win as Ebesh gets shut down by Destroyer. 5k HP left, and Raid, after getting absolutely smashed, pounded, thrown from rock to the fucking suitcase everywhere. Then in the last match against Invil, they're now doing exactly the same thing against Fists. 3-0, Barry.
Yeah, there was some lovely team play there from Destroyer and Kalium. Do you see that? Destroyer managing to stay alive on 16 HP. Him and Kalium just being able to kill the two CSs that managed to push down and try and ram into them. That was nice to see. Just a nice little touch at the end. It's good to see that even though they were kind of winning the game, they're still just managing to execute well in the late game. And you said that there was a very good chance we'd get a correct prediction here. You know, we had a very wide spread, 3-1, 3-2. And no one's going for the Stomps today.
It's actually unbelievable, dude. We have 3-1 and 3-2 for Fist, and we had 3-1 and 3-2 for Raid. The only thing we didn't have was 3-0s.
This is why you never gamble, kids. You know what I mean? 3-0. Nobody predicted it, and I said I really expected somebody to get that right there. But as Key said, this is like speedrunning the tournament, you know? 3-0, 4-0, 3-0.
I mean, I think he expected the stream to go for like 4 hours. We're into the finals. We've been 2 hours. So, yeah, he's currently sweating. Like, oh no. But yeah, look at this. They only lost one gun in all of this, by the way. Like, they only lost a singular 907. And this rotation was really good from the side of Raid, you know? Going back towards 1-2 with that Cran. So they had a 3v2 overmatch. And then they know that the side of Fist is going to start winning the hill because of the Cran, and they know that they have to do something. They can't sit there. If they sit, they die. And they will 100% lose the game.
Yeah, you said the negative on the opposing team managing to do his damage on the hill, but that basically forced the rotation from Raid, and it was the correct rotation. They managed to find that overmatch on the 1-2. And as you said, it was actually quite unusual. You don't see the Cran drop down, but I think it was just that clip that enabled them to win. They had the 3 tanks there versus the 2. Just that extra surprise, bringing that Cran, forcing that into a 3v2 instead of a 2v2, and basically being able to win the donut. And what's important about that is, especially because of the way the Raid played, they had the hill advantage in the early game, and then once you also get the donut as well, everything in the middle just kind of gets crossfired. So it was good. It was good. Like
good rotation,
and tactical.
Good rotation from Raid there, coming in solid, and being able to take it there as well. And that was good stuff from Raid. I mean, Fist actually deserved to win at least a round here, I guess. You know, that Himmelsdorf, that wasn't like the first Himmels. No, they never deserved to win that, but at least the second Himmelsdorf. So like it looks 3-0, but I think Fist deserves a little bit more credit than that. They will be picking up bronze Fist, so tournament goal has been achieved. But I would like to hear from Kihan and Insane what they have to say.
Well, hello there and welcome back. The speedrun continues, Insane. I mean, 3 matches now, and in neither of those has the losing team been able to pick up a round. Yeah, we'll take a look at the updated tournament bracket, and we can see Invil, they are going to face off against Raid. We just saw Tilt Fists that started in the lower bracket. They made a valiant effort. But yeah, in the end it wasn't enough, so we are going to have ourselves a rematch of the upper bracket final.
Yeah, very often we have that happening actually in those tournaments. We have the team from the winners bracket getting into the finals of the losers and actually meeting back the winners of the upper one. Invil, they often struggle, they often have that issue when they come from the winners bracket to actually keep their focus and actually play on a very solid level. So I hope this time they actually kept their focus after winning, kept preparing, kept watching, didn't get their mindset out of that tournament. Raid, good performance, but at the same time, Tilt Fist, I was myself predicting them winning that match because I felt like they were solid on that match number 5 against Hive, but this was not really good from them. Raid was just better, taking the victory, and that was deserved.
Yes, indeed, and I especially liked some of the stuff that we saw from Raid. I believe the replays are ready, so we can show them immediately. And yeah, that first match, honestly, it was something else. We haven't seen this yet in tournaments. I believe CS is being sent to boost the 279s towards the 0 line.
It's been something played on the RU Asava a lot, like for months already. It's pretty common to use the CS to boost tanks. That's really efficient. That's probably the best thing to do that on Himmelsdorf. And you could see Raid using that little trick to boost those 279. You could see hulking in that position, almost invincible, and the crossfire coming with those chiefs around the hill. And from the side of Steel Fist, the reaction was poor. The reaction was slow. You need to have those tanks like starting to go deep in the 1-2 line, starting to take those positions around G3, G4 to at least punish the tanks going around the hill. But none of the damage needed was here, and they were also slow on taking the base from Raid, and they had like, what, 5 tanks to cover it, so you can just watch the HP. It was like a massive cleanup from the side of Raid on the hill, and very slow reactions from Tilt.
Yeah, we see the last seconds here, obviously. At this point the game was already decided. But I really want to emphasize on the slow reaction from the Tilt Fists, simply because they didn't see anyone 8 line, they didn't see anyone 1, 2, 3 line, and they saw like 2 tanks, I believe, on the lower side at all, and they kept going hill. And as soon as they saw the 279 appearing, they didn't turn around. Like, this would suggest such a big commitment. But yeah, here we go, second round, and once again, Raid just with the bigger commitment onto the hill.
Yeah, they had more tanks on the hill, but as Daki mentioned, it was not that bad from the side of Tilt Fist, because this time they were aggressive on the lower side super fast, so they could basically get the attention of those tanks of Raid on the hill and buy enough time to actually clean the lower side. That's what they did. They took their overmatch on the lower side. They lost some tanks on the hill, but you could see they were up on HP, and here came the repush from the side of Raid on the kill line. That's actually correct, combined with the triple cap. That was actually probably one of the best plays from the side of Raid, repushing that kill line to actually deal with the cap pressure and going for the triple cap, forcing those double CS to actually come and get those decaps. You could see very close decap here from Manfred, but also Daki mentioned that maybe not the greatest play up here. Going into the open, Ganzi, he could just go for those windows to get more decaps when it's needed, and that was costly for his team.
Yeah, also, just like Invil yesterday, I want to highlight the Raid cap pressure always being super on point. Like, the CSs, yes, they could get decapped, but then again, it was only 1 tank peeking here, Bunze, that was basically, yeah, he didn't have a lot of cap points, and then the CS doesn't really stand a chance. He has the peeker's disadvantage of being spotted already. And now into the third game we go here. Both teams sending a lot of CSs towards the hill initially. It's
a bit mirrored like from those two teams, but Raid, they just have in general, better opening for like few reasons. The first one is that they have more tanks on the hill, one more CS, and they have more HP on it. And you have those 907s that can pressure around the hill against CSs, so they are forcing those tanks from Tiltfist back straight up. They're taking the control of the hill, they are up on HP. The only thing they would be missing probably would be the donut, but you could see that CS from the side of Tiltfist not picking the right side of the donut. He was just picking on the north. He could use his tank to pick on the south to actually provide some cover on the hill. He didn't do that. Then Raid, intelligent move, they actually decided to rotate and actually take back the control of the donuts, since they saw that they had more tanks to do that, and they forced Shield to actually pressure the hill and pressure the middle, but their positions were simply better from the side of Raid, and that's how they actually managed to win that round.
Yeah, it was also reflected in the scoreline at the end of the match. I think that one was a pretty clean 15-1. So good stuff also by Raid for keeping all of the tanks alive. And yeah, in those last moments you can just see how the crossfires, they are just working for Raid in every single engagement here. Destroyer there also staying alive on 16 HP. And Negative, I think if they would have given him more time on the hill, Negative could have actually done a difference up there with his chieftain. But yeah, Raid, as you said, very smart repush of the 1-2 line, and then the positions were never gonna turn back into Tiltfist's favor again.
That was the issue. They were lacking time, they were out of position, they couldn't rotate from that mid simply because there was the pressure on the top of the hill from the side of Raid that could actually see all the rotations they needed, combined with the middle spots. So good play from the side of Raid, just the superior opening up here. Tiltfist without the reactions needed up here to actually get a chance on a cliff, and Raid with the clean sweep. After losing 4-0, winning 3-0, and they're gonna have, as you said, the rematch against Invil. That's gonna be our big finals. That's gonna be a B09. So the first team getting 5 rounds on the board is gonna be the big champion of that tournament. Invil, are they capable of keeping their focus? I guess this tournament, after all the finals they lost, they should be like in shape. I don't know what you think, but I feel like this time they're gonna make the effort.
If I'm not mistaken, they have won a 15v15 final at one point.
No, I mean coming up from the winners bracket.
Oh yeah, that is sort of the.
That's what
story.
I mean. Like they always struggle when they come from the winners bracket. They have like a very clean tournament in the all winners bracket, and then they come in the big finals, and maybe they were chilling a bit, trolling around, thinking that they're superior, and then they get surprised. They start losing ground, and maybe mentally not on point. This time, probably they made the effort to stay focused.
Yeah, also they didn't have to wait long for the lower bracket finals to take place, so not a lot of time to start to get trolling each other. Now, while the assets are being prepared, we already have some pick and bans being locked in, and the interesting thing is Invil coming from the upper bracket basically gets the advantage of being able to pick a map before anyone can ban something, and they pick Himmelsdorf immediately and ban Live Oaks after, and then Raid comes in with the Fisherman's pick. What do we make of this?
Interesting maps. I mean, Fisherman's, we have seen that Raid was really superior during the group stage against Invil. They managed to go 2-0 against them. That's probably why they want to play back on that that map against the Polish team. Invil going for Himmels, pretty standard. We have seen that happening a lot. We have even some replays from the match between those two teams. On that first match, I think we could see that Invil, the global level of the team seemed better, like the communication, the trades, like how they played as a team, the cohesion, that seemed really good from them.
Yes, indeed. And also in the match, I believe it was against... basically how Raid looked against the Tiltfist, they always had this big hit squad, and there were stragglers by the other team that were getting picked off ever so easily. Now here, Invil does get sort of, I would say, a bit caught off guard, but in the end they managed to take it back. The individual trades just on point, and then they keep the guns alive and snowball it down. That is sort of the story for a lot of Invil games that we have seen, because a lot of the matches were close. Like the score lines, they don't properly reflect what happened in between Raid and Invil especially, but in those crucial moments at the end of the game, it always seemed like the Invil players were just one step ahead, that their communication was just those 2 seconds faster.
I mean, it's their playstyle in general. They always go for those over matches. They always like group up and just push one side massively. They never really split too much, as you could see on that round. That was the massive 1-2-3 line push, and the mistake from Raid to actually have tanks out of the fight, JK Aladdin, not with the rest of their tanks. And they always utilize the possible mistakes from the opponent to actually punish them hard. That team, either they have the push, they keep committing for it and it works. They also are capable of adapting. Whenever their push cannot work, you could see it on the first Himmels round, they're capable of holding their positions, creating crossfires, communicating, and actually winning the trades, which is really hard for a team in the 15-15 tournaments. So really good performance from them during that tournament. For now, they have been proving that the group stage performance was barely not comparable to the playoff one, and they want to actually conclude that in the finals.
Yeah, about the group stage performance, I was going to say, that was a whole different team that we saw there. I mean, Raid taking the victory, and Raid didn't look good on Morovanka there, as, yeah, they dropped both rounds, but as you said, on Fisherman's it was really, really good, and then the final in the group stage was actually Cliff. That was also not really that close. Raid also looking convincing here. Now this was game number 3 in between Invil and Raid in the upper bracket finals, and both teams were able to create overmatches on their respective side of the field or city where they pushed, but in the end, Invil, just once again, the individual players, what they did here. You see Sokar and Tisek probably talking to each other right now, and all the other tanks taking that crucial second rail and then just holding the approaches for Raid that the Raid players will need to push into, because they were attacking, and then Invil just having easy pickings. And here, at this point, Invil is doing a push and Raid is doing a repush, but it feels just desperate by Raid.
Yeah, on that run, Invil they were just locking Raid into pretty like uncomfortable positions by having all the angles covered, and then they allowed themselves to repush into those windows, almost really picking those tanks from the side of Raid, the HP. It was kinda close, but to be fair, they were picking all those tanks so easily. You could see Smile destroy on a 1-shot, Lemmy on a 2-shot. That was just a very, very clean repush from the side of Invil, and that was really well deserved, the result of that match. That was maybe a bit harsh because a few rounds were close, but at the end of the day, they played really solid as a team, and they actually didn't get those rounds by luck, like, you know, some armor racks, some fires or anything. They actually played well as a team to actually take them.
Alright, so now all of this being said and done, we are almost ready to hop into the matches here. However, yeah, first of all, what do you think is going to happen? And second of all, do you think is it going to be another clean sweep?
To be fair, every time I've seen Invil against Raid, I've seen the close match. That was pretty surprising to me to see a 4-0. According to the map Simmels, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 1-1. Maybe Raid is gonna come with those pretty like aggressive tactics, or just gonna trap Invil. So I'd say they are capable of taking round. Fisherman's, that's also a map that could be a 1-1. So I would definitely not expect a clean sweep this time. Maybe a 5-3, 5-2 at best for Invil. But what's going to be interesting is Sun River. That is going to be the third map. Sun River is probably the map where Invil is going to be better, because they didn't play it yet. We don't know their main tactics, their A tactics, and they're always very strong. And from the side of Raid, when they played Sun River against Anway, that was a bit sloppy. That was not the greatest. So even if that was 1-1 on the 2 first map, I would still see Invil going 4-2 against them, and probably on match points, Raid not capable of stopping them.
Alright, then the next map, if we even get to this, would be Prokhorovka, a map that we haven't seen so far in the tournament. It was picked by Raid, but yeah, as we haven't seen it really, we're not really able to predict what would be happening there, should we come to it. And then tiebreaker is Cliff, as it was in the group stage in between both of those teams. But yeah, I believe that was quite enough from us for the time being. Let's head over to the casters.
Yes, Gihan, thank you very much for that extensive and very deep analysis. Barry, your prediction for this match, what is it?
I think 5-2 Invil. I think that's what I said. For 5-2, 5-3 maybe. You know, but I'm still definitely going for an Invil win here. Is that something you're going for?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what Kihan is going to pick. Who is he going to favor? I picked the Raid again. Very surprise. And when you saw that one coming, did it once, failed massively. Doing it again. If it doesn't work the first time, just
Yeah, sticking to your guns. You know, a man with conviction. That's what I like to see.
yeah, conviction, or it's just no fun when everybody predicts the same one.
And it's fun to be
right?
a bit
Yeah.
stupid. Yeah, either side of the same coin. You know what I mean?
This is the best of 9 though, Barry. Between these two, and Raid coming off of they're on a bit of a momentum streak here. After beating Fist 3-0. I mean, you lose your match. You get clean sweep dominated by Invil. Honestly, I don't think it matters really much if it's 4-0, 4-1, or 4-2. This is usually something that people care more about, like on the stream, than the players and FCs themselves. Yeah. It's the same thing as if a game ends 15-0 or 15-5 or 15-10, 15-8. If you're supposed to win, it doesn't matter what scoreline you win with. Like, it's cool and all, but it doesn't really affect that much. It's not like, oh my god, guys, we won 15-0.
What you really focus on, as you said, as a player or as an FC, is how you kind of, the manner in which you kind of went about it. Even if the game actually ended like 3-0, but were the games close? Were you dominating all those games? How did the 8 battles actually pan out? Were you being
you can have 4-0
moving around quickly and hitting all your shots? You
can have 4-0s where you never had a chance.
Yeah.
And you can have 4-0s where realistically you're like looking back at it and you're like, nah. If we did this slightly better, we would be going 2-2 into the next map, and we'd be totally fine,
Yeah, it's like we saw earlier, even like Raids losing 4-0 to Invil. Obviously, this is now the rematch. But they lost 4-0, but really, they said in the first 3 games, as you said, it could be a 2-2, definitely. It could even be potentially a
2-1.
Yeah, I doubt they would have picked up 3 rounds, but definitely
2-1
could have picked up 2.
The Raid could have been 2-1. I mean, it's not unseen. I also watched back that first Himmels round, by the way, between Raid and Invil, the one where I didn't focus on the hangar, and I don't think Insane saw it either. One of the most important aspects of Himmelsdorf is on 1-2 if you're going to lose the hangar or not. Now, Raid had triple chieftains on A1, and Invil only managed to cross over with 3 tanks, of which one was the 279 on 800 HP. Now, this means that if Raid chieftains or the FC Smiley, I guess they should tell his chieftains to hold the hangar, right? You side scrape off of the hangar and you hold it. Invil would not be able to push it. They would have to cross more over, which then could be punished from 2-line, and then you can maybe pull off this repush, like the way they tried to do it, because Invil would have to commit 2 more tanks. You need like 5 to kill those 3 because of the HP. So there was actually, instead of the repush being my main mistake there in that Himmelsdorf game, the very first one, I would say Raid not focusing on holding the hangar, even though they had enough numbers of the guns there to actually do that.
Yeah, because as I mentioned as well, once they lose the hangar, they lost your Kefir for free. But if they actually hold that hangar,
that's the thing.
Maybe Invil need to cross another tank over, then that's just
HP
gain.
And you could say they could hold the hangar because it was 3v3 with an HP advantage, and Invil has to push down the hangar lanes to actually pressure those chiefs, and chief on side scrape, they're definitely going to hit 2, maybe 3 shots on them coming close, and then Invil needs 5 tanks to kill it, and then you can do this 2-line repush and it might actually work. So that's probably the mistake there. But between these maps, Fisherman's Bay, haven't seen that much of it. Prokhorovka actually coming out as well. We'll see at least we won't necessarily see at least 1 round on it. We have
to wait and see if we actually will get that far. This tournament has shown us that the games can end a lot quicker than any of us would anticipate. But we will see Himmels again, as you said, Fisherman's, and Sand River as well. They last time when these teams fought in the second match today, we had Himmels and Ents. So this time Raid banning Ents, just switching up the map pool slightly. We will be on that city fight to start off with, and then we'll be going into some more of the kind of open maps, especially Sand River.
So a fun fact whispered into my ear by our glorious German admin Phil, is that out of the community prediction and the prediction game, there was 8 people that have predicted all 7 games so far correctly. Congratulations. But now it comes, Barry. Out of those 8 people that have everything correct so far, all 8 of them picked for Invil to win the finals.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot better than us, all of us here on the casting and on the analysis in terms of trying to get the predictions correct. And yeah, Invil looking pretty strong on the community prediction as well, 80% to 20%. You said all the people who seem to have some insider knowledge on what teams are going to win and what teams are going to perform, they're all going for Invil. And that is maybe a telling sign. Again, we will just have to wait. I said this is a BO9, so that is.
I mean,
it's going to be a bit different.
You can't count Raid out, man. Like Invil going through upper bracket, they're very, very strong. But even the tournament that they won, which was against Fame, they could have lost when Fame came back from lower bracket. I think you were there. We could have very easily won that game just as well. Then there was another tournament where Invil came through the upper bracket very strong. The last one, they smacked Fame again in the upper bracket. They smacked them, and then Fame came back and absolutely clapped their cheeks red in the finals. And then there's another tournament again where Invil makes it through the upper bracket, and then they play against Raid in the finals, and Raid does an unbelievable remontada and goes on to win the tournament. So like this upper bracket for Invil hasn't never been that much of a
almost like a bit of a curse, you know, potentially getting overconfident a little bit.
And it's always they always really win really hard in the upper bracket finals. Like it's not close for some reason. But then when the team comes back from the lower bracket, they're I don't know ready, or they're underprepared, or they've been sleeping like a quick power nap and they haven't fully woken up yet.
Yeah, maybe they're just a bit hungry. Who knows? You know?
Or out of shots, which is always the. It's a very, you lose the tournament, we were out of shots. We used our shots in the first two matches, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I guess because I said this is like a double elimination, and the matches earlier have been shorter, some BO5s, BO7s. Now we're going into a BO9. We're seeing some different maps coming out. We're seeing Sand River and Fishman's.
The shorter matches actually favors Raid as well, though, because they didn't really have to reveal that much against Fists. They played 3 rounds against them. I mean, Himmelsdorf was one of them, but Himmelsdorf is the kind of map where teams you can improvise in the moment still. I mean, I know it for a fact because it's all we did in the last tournament. We literally just improvised on the spot. Like we had some general ideas, but not like really concrete strats anymore. And we decided we're going to do this, and it can definitely work. So if anything, that's fine for Raid coming out, even though they've played it a lot already. There's always something possible there. You can always throw something in the works.
Do you think we'll see the 4 or 5 260s from Invil as we've seen in the last 2 to 3 games again?
I think the 260s look really cool, and I think they're fine, I guess, to push down the middle, but overall I don't see the grand appeal of them. I think in a slower game, if the game gets slowed down, they ultimately do worse than Chieftains in 279s.
I think that's definitely the case.
Because at some point, if you're left with 260s, they can't really side scrape because of the pike nose.
Yeah.
So, and the hold on is like, okay, but you have the shot trap, you have the cupola, which it's not a big cupola, but the shot trap is the main issue, right?
Yeah, and as you said, it's almost like though, as I said, Invil's strategy and kind of philosophy is not to play slow. I think they're trying to use those 260s.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, Barry. If you don't get that opportunity to play super fast with those 260s and the game lasts really long, and it's kind of even, I think you're stuck with worse tanks.
No, definitely.
Wow, Barry, a quick take from the chat just for you. Breaking news: Daldria Daman has a comment on the chat. Barry, my channel points are dropping faster than Barry's Cairo mark. I got that comment. He's obviously not been having so much good luck with the predictions, just like us. Just felt like you might want to know about that one, Barry. That was a good one. That's a good one.
No, we can go back to the newsroom, but I don't want an update next time, okay? I don't want to know that update.
I mean, it's just, I think it's important for us to connect with the community, and, he gets a shout out on the stream. We all compliment him on the banger of a joke that he just made.
Also, actually, I'll just give you a good Kara update. Kara marks have actually dropped, so that when I play the game, my marks actually went up despite doing no damage.
Yeah, and then they go down again.
That is the overall trend and a larger picture. But let's focus on the small victories that we make day to day. Start small.
Start small, indeed.
Win big.
And Raid will have to start small here as well in our grand finals of the Clan Showdown. Barry, Kihan, and Insane all going with the Polska Gurum way. Me sticking to the Raid way. The German against Polish squads facing off here on Himmelsdorf. for either of these teams, picking up the first round, the first 2-3 rounds even, is very important. Momentum is a big thing.
Yeah, and Key, they're going for the 5-4. I don't know if he's seen the matches today, but he's maybe just expected in a longer game, because the way they've gone today has not really lived up to that expectation. You know, the 5-4, the tiebreaker, and that would be Cliff, just so everyone's aware if we do get to that point. But we will start off on Himmels, and we've seen a lot of Himmels where I said that Invil, are they going to bring out kind of the similar strat, or do they maybe save something for the final? Because as we said, they do perform well in the upper bracket, so they themselves probably expected to be in this position. So were they saving anything for the final game, trying to do something special? Or what do we have here?
We have double CS, 6 to 7 nines, and the rest chieftains for Invil. And we have 5 to 7 nines, double CS, and the rest chieftains for Raid. So it's almost a mirror lineup. There's only very minimal differences here. One more to 7-9 for the side of Invil.
Yes, we have the CS is spreading a bit differently. Monster taking the one line, getting some early information. He's getting a deep spot on those tanks that are going to cross the A3. Look how aggressive Monster's going. He's basically just rushed in position, seen all this information from Raid, and now they know they have a decent idea of all the tanks that are kind of in the hangar, and they know what they're going to be up against. You got 3 chieftains from Invil going towards the E1 area, I'd imagine, and then those 5, 6, 2, 7, 9s going to pressure as well. Oh, rerolls. How did he lose all that health?
He had to run away from the D line, which was pushed by double chieftain from Invil, and then a shot from Monster as well. And now Invil is pushing 1-2 again. This time you can see double chieftain on the one line, triple chieftain on the one line, but Raid has reinforced the hangar, Barry, which might actually work in their favor here if they can do the damage to the chieftains. Cross and Ketsai dropping towards 749 already, and here come the tanks from Invil. They want to take this overmatch yet again, but I think this time around Raid here has the number of guns maybe required to hold this Ketsai down towards a one shot. But look at that, Raid with the superior numbers at the hangar actually holding it this time, and now Raid is re-pushing into the 2 line. This might be going better than last time around, as Kalium is the first one falling, maybe still slightly early though. 1-2 line is slowly starting won by Raid here as they win A1 and then coming crossfire, but maybe again the 2 line re-push Barry a little bit too early.
Exactly, too early. The Raid had control of the A1 position. They were basically had a massive overmatch there. As you said, they managed to reinforce the hangar, but then they decided to push in, and basically they just lost quite a lot of tanks. I'm not sure exactly who's going to come out on top here, because the game is still ongoing. These skirmishes are going over. Magnus and Old King's being kind of isolated. Jakefa also kind of being caught out there. He's going to kill Miko. But it's basically just the tanks have gone everywhere, and they've all gone into these isolated pockets, and Raid managing to hold them to A1. However, they had this massive re-push from Raid, which it doesn't look like it's actually going to work out for them. You got the CS on the hill though, and that could be crucial. That CS on the hill probably got a lot of health, but he might be able to trade fairly well for Ricochet, who's going to go down. But then these chieftains are going to have to move out of the courtyard and back over to the A line, and that could be where the CS from Alex on the hill can maybe pick up an extra 1k damage, and that's going to be huge when there's only 8k left here for Invil.
Yeah, only 8k left here for Invil, 5 for Raid. They're trailing in HP. Mentos tried to make a play there, but it's now forced back off. DJ is going for Kacha. In the meantime, they want to pick up Sokar there in the 279, but Sokar is going to pick up Kacha in return. DJ now flanking as well. And really, man, I think Raid did well there by reinforcing the hangar, but I think the 2-line repush, it was too early, Barry. They were going to win A1, which is all they needed. It's an overreaction. They did so well in the start of the game, reinforcing the hangar, but then they have to win. They have to chill. They have to just relax for a little bit, slow it down, let A1 be won. Invil is going to have to do something. They're going to have to do something. And also, I think there was double 279 at C3, which I think was a little bit too much of a freebie, because both of those got picked up. I don't think there should be 2 there. Again, not taking the position behind C2, where we saw Conrad play, you know, the one that I'm talking about, but both on C3. I really think Raid had this, man. I really think they had it. I think they overreacted.
I think they did, like, as we said, they had the A1 position, which they adapted slightly from the last time they played it. They were making aggressive peaks on Invil, who have to push into them, so they got a lot of early damage. They had similar amount of tanks, but because they were playing it better, you know, they were making the aggressive peaks, making the early trades. Invil didn't have the HP to take A1, and in the end it actually was a 3v2. And you said Raid decided to push down the 2-3 line, or into the 3 line, but they hadn't yet won A1. They were winning it. And actually, that 2-3 line push came in before
Too early.
the A1 clean out.
If they wait, the thing is we talked about it, right? We literally just talked about it before the match started. If they kill A1, which they had enough tanks for, they will take back the inside hangar positions, which means that all the tanks from Invil on the outside, so the 2-line, all get forced into positions where they don't want to be. And then, because now they were able to speak from that corner and shoot the first one pushing around the corner, right? I think that was Kalium even. They were able to shoot the first one. If they wait, those tanks will slowly but surely annihilate those Invil tanks. And they still have the hill with the CS, so they have everything. This is the part where they felt like they needed to do something, but they didn't. They were winning the game. They had to just stop, stand still, wait. Invil has to do something. They will do something. They're not just going to sit there and watch A1 die.
Yeah, do you think reroll should have got caught out like that? So,
It's not his fault, completely.
I mean, usually though, you
It's
get
not
the
his fault.
information in time, don't you?
No,
to
he
be able
doesn't.
to-
There's double chieftain crossing through the middle. He takes one chieftain shot from the window guy at D5. That's minus 440. He takes 2 shots from the chiefs when he's running. It's already minus 1.2. He takes another one from the chief before he's fully run away. So he's already taken 4 or 5 shells for that, Barry. And he takes one minimum from the CS when running, because Monster was there
Yeah,
also.
the CS was very
So
risky.
he couldn't even die for this. No, it's not his fault. He got sent there in the beginning. If he drove the way that he was supposed to from the FC, it's completely not his fault. He can't do anything about it.
I guess there was another potential mistake, as we were saying. It really was just that timing. The game was in the hands. It really was.
Even with rerolls basically being dead, they had
Yeah.
hanger. They had the game.
And they just decided to push the 2-3 line instead of using that.
No, but the
advantage.
2-3 line push is fine, but just like 30 seconds or 45
Yeah, the
seconds
timing.
later. Yeah,
Time was the issue.
yeah. Because Invil has to either push forward or pull back, and that is the time where they can actually do something.
Yeah, I think as we said, if they actually push A1, you might see Invil being more aggressive.
I mean,
with
like,
that
if
2-3 line
they-
instead of
if-
Raid having to.
If they wait, Invil might try to cross more over to the hangar. They do 3 damage. They repush. They win.
Yeah.
Invil might push 3 line. They push. They hold. The A line guys come from behind. They win the game again. Invil pulls back. They allow themselves to get repushed on 1-2 lines. Right? You can push 1-2 line then back. They get surrounded. They die because they have the hill. So and Raid is not an issue of losing their cap because they have the window themselves. So they win in every scenario except for when they push first too early.
Yeah, just overplaying slightly. But we will be going to the second Himmels round here. And again, will we see those 260s? You know, they didn't bring them out last time. Will we see it this time?
Barry, another quick hot take from chat. They're like Barry. They
Oh.
play bad after 2 hours in. MC Twitch, QSF dude on Invil's performance in the most tournaments. There you go, Barry. I felt like you wanted
yeah.
to know that one.
That's another great hot take there from chat. Thanks for the update. Let's get back into the game. We got a batcher there from Invil, double 50B. As we said, again, it's a really...
No CSs though. They brought this bat before, but it was combined with CSs. Now Raid has double CS, 5 to 7 nines, and the rest Chiefs. But Raid going for 1-2. And Invil is also going for 1-2. Now it depends, Barry, how much does each team have going on the hill? So
Just one CS there from Raid, and it looks like probably both 50Bs, I'd imagine, going to the hill with the CS from Invil. So a 3 versus 1. I'd imagine the CS from Raid, Ricochet, you probably just go get some information. And you've got the double chieftain going across the mid. But again, see Tisek, he gets the information. He's able to run away. And that's just... They're actually going to reinforce that position, potentially pick up some damage here on Bunzer and Magnus, because they're going in with the multiple 279s, and also Senti creating some crossfires. It looks like they want to take this engagement here.
yeah, Senti here in an absolutely amazing position, able to lay waste to the tanks from Raid. Magnus retaliating though, gets one on the third, but Senti already picking up 3 shots for free here. In the meantime, Raid pushing down the 8 line a little bit as well. There is the bat on the hill though, but the bat on the hill is by himself right now. There is an opportunity here for Alex to pick him up, but there's no other Raid tanks reinforcing this. And so far, if you look at it, hold against hold, it will be Invil that is going to win this, because they simply will have the hill under their control. But you can see now Raid is trying to react to this by trying to send tanks back towards the hill, but they already bled so much HP for this.
Yeah, I think Alex, the batch out on the hill, managing to even get a full clip in there. Rexar, you could just see he's farming Bunzer, he's farming Magnus. I was just seeing shot after shot go in. So good play there from Rexar, and now, as you said, the hill is actually reinforced with the 50Bs.
And Bunz and Aladdin even trying to get out of that middle courtyard position, which they don't seem to be favoring anymore. Mentos now trading off against Ricochet. Mentos is a normal 3-shot though, but Kacha puts one in as well. Kacha's going to be picking that up as well. So now that's good for them. I mean, he's going to put Ricochet down towards a 1-shot. Ricochet picks him up in return. Now they're starting to push 1-2. Aladdin and Bunza had to go there to try and get safe. I think even Aladdin should be making a shield for Bunza here because they're otherwise both going to die in raid. Now trailing in HP, pushing across towards the hangar because they have to do this. Smiley bleeding heavily, Splinely bleeding more, but still, so far, it's not that far apart. You gotta say, it's 2k HP that still could go either way, and in the meantime, Invil tried to push the 8 line, which I don't think is gonna be that great for them either, but now you can see Kacha, Bunza, they're all bleeding so much on these crossings, Barry.
Does Kacha really need to cross to the hangar there? They're actually winning the hangar, and actually I think they needed to reinforce the HP on the 2-3 line, and Kacha took a lot of damage on the cross, and then he takes the hangar, but it's not really going to work out for them because they were already winning that position anyway. Nice track there from rerolls, but Rexar does have his Repacket. And as you said, the 8 line looking in favor of Raid. I think Invil have managed to reinforce it, but Raid winning those initial engagements there on the 8 line. And Timmy now with all the help, but no support. You can see the tanks of Invil just going to go through.
No engine, no fuel tanks. I mean, Zucker literally overloads him right now. In return, though, Hannes here fighting against M. Kopan. Piotr's still alive as well, and they need to close out this courtyard really quickly. Hannes on the triple kill now. Piotr peeking out, killing Destroyer. Old King's now coming in as well. They need to pick these up before the rest of the Invil guns come into position to reinforce. And now Old King's going forward, but ooh, non-connection there from Piotr, but they're still in the middle, and here come the Invil tanks, though, Barry.
Yeah, so you're going to have the CS from the hill. He could be crucial here because he's just going to have some overwatch shots again. It's Alex, as we've seen, he's done a really good performances on the hill in the past, doing 4k damage pretty much every game when he's been in this position, and he's going to be the difference here. Oh, that's a nice shot. Nice pickup there. And as you said, the Chieftains, all Kings reroll. It looks like they've managed to get almost safe.
Nice
but Alex just trading, trading back, even though all Kings does take a shot. Alex getting that trade onto Ozek, and then he might even be able to get a shot here onto Tisek. Do you think he can maybe try and play against Sokar here? Maybe go back around the hill, get in spot, take a new angle, maybe get some damage to Sokar?
I think Invil will try to close out the kill here on rerolls, to be honest, one way or another, which is probably the correct move because Sokar is pushing forward, 1.8 HP. Barry, you can't just dig through that 279, and he's going inside the courtyard, knowing that there's still Old Kings there on a 1-shot.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Sokar's just going to go make that peak.
Oh.
Nice play from Alex, unlucky there.
Yeah, unlucky that he doesn't connect that one. He might have one more on Tisek if he crosses, but no. But now you can see also the 279 closing the distant Tisek down towards a 1-shot, but it's the C7 279 which is going to lay waste to rerolls from behind, and Sokar is simply driving forward, sees Old Kings, picks Old Kings up as well, and then the 279 Conrad comes behind, rerolls, and 2 close games here on Himmelsdorf. But again, Invil in that endgame scenario, man, just slightly ahead.
Yeah, again, as we've seen before, Alex on the hill now, last guy alive, again with a reasonable amount of damage, doing the best he can for his team, but as you said, not being able to pick it up. Even if he does get a shot here, it's very unlikely he's going to be able to turn the game around. Like I said, even if he was to pick up Tisek, he's still going to have to kill 3 279s, which I'd like to see him try, and I think we might be in for a treat. He might be able to get a shot here. I don't think he has the gun depression now. Doesn't look like he was peeking that far. Yeah, he wasn't peeking kind of fully over, which he's probably obviously scared of because you do have that 279 on the 1 line if he peeks over just to try and get the shot. He'll take one in return anyway, and he's never really going to have a chance. It'd be interesting to see how he'll play this. I mean, you do have Conrad 463, who is not really going to be able to pick up, and it looks like Alex is going north, but very quickly he's going to have to turn back. Yeah, as we said, you've got the triple cap coming in here, double 279. Chief going to get in the cap in the next 15 seconds, and Alex is heading north, but Conrad isn't even a one-shot really. He's 463. You'd have to get really lucky.
It's possible, but unlikely. And Alex still has to make it back to cap in 40 seconds as well, which I don't think seems to be happening. He spots out Conrad. Conrad should be nailing Alex once already. There he goes, 344 HP. Now Alex would need to hit the shot. He doesn't, and it means that Conrad... Oh, Alex, not CS, quick and nimble, but still 15 seconds triple cap. And I don't think Alex connects that one either. So that leaves Conrad to pick it up with 5 kills, and it's going to be Invil winning Himmelserve
7K?
2-0. 7K?
I just see that. I think I just saw 7,100 damage there from Conrad, taking Killer Pit's top
Thank
spot.
God somebody beat Killer Pit.
Yeah, I know that one would. That one would please you a lot.
Imagine if Killer Pit goes on for the rest of his life. Remember that one time in Clan Showdown where I played my Badger and I did like 6k damage? Amazing.
Yeah, he was saying he should have done an extra K, so it would be maybe just as much as Conrad.
Yeah, you didn't do 7.
I didn't do 7. I did see 7. I did see 7.
Yeah, you did see 7. You did see 7. It wasn't 7 though.
But do I need glasses? You know, who knows?
Maybe. I mean, rerolls 5.3, solid there from him. Coming out. 2900. I mean, yeah. Some of those tanks that were caught in the courtyard. Also, sometimes, you know, shielding is great, you know, but I think if it was Aladdin and Bunzu, right? One of them was a one-shot. He should just die in front of Aladdin, so Aladdin can sit hold on behind the wreck. Like, shielding to keep a gun alive is great, but it's not worth it if both 10-10-10 by the Rexar,
Yeah.
4k.
I said I just saw Rexar in the early game, so that was really good from. It was good from Invil in the way that you said you had. Was it Ketsai in that position where you can kind of overwatch the hill from the lower side? You said you were seeing over onto the courtyard, just getting shots in. But he forced. Was it Senti? Yeah. Three Cheetahs from Raid were basically forced to go right under his gun.
Yep.
And then you just had Rexar in the back from the hill just saying, okay, well, I have a clip and just does 2k damage right at the start.
It's almost, in that scenario, Barry, it's almost worth it to drive on top of him, by the way, with one of the Chiefs. Like,
just push him down.
And just drive on top of him, because one of two things happens. You drive on top of him, he backs out, he gets shot from 1-2 line, right? Or you drive on top of him and he takes like a 1.5k damage, or he just simply the wreck, and he needs to push the wreck then as well. So then you only have the bat, right? And the bat's already going to be clipping. So then it's only the bat. So then at least the position becomes kind of, you know, less useful.
Yeah, you said it's almost just like denying that position, because he did probably maybe 4 shots for free there. And you said Rexar then coming in the back. At 4k damage, basically. 3.5k damage in the early game as well. And that's important, because I said early game HP then gives them less options in mid and late game, and Invil picking up 2-0 there on Himmels. Though again, as we said, Raid, they're not playing too bad overall. Again, the games are fairly close, and that's how it was earlier as well. Invil just finding a way in all of these games, really.
Well, it's luckily enough for Raid, it's best of 9. So a lot of room there for error. But again, momentum, Invil's way, man. Winning 2 close rounds on Himmels is amazing for them.
Yeah, we'll see Fisherman's. We haven't seen too much Fisherman's. We haven't seen it at all today. We did see it yesterday. But it'd be interesting to see how Raid and Invil play it. So I think yesterday, I remember seeing Tilt Fists play Fisherman's. And they played it with quite a few 279s. I can't remember exactly who they were playing yesterday. I think it was Amway. And as you said, yeah, Amway actually didn't bring out too many 279s. So some of the better teams bring out a lot more 279s, as you would expect, trying to go for that mid control. And then, you know, you've got a couple of 907s, and Leo are probably just going to sit at the back, snipe a lot, two 907s, kind of flexing around. Let's see exactly how Invil use it. Yeah, exactly.
This is kind of how the Raid played it as well. You know, mainly focusing on the 6 to 7 lines with the tanks, which is exactly what Invil is going for as well.
You can see all those 279s, HP boosted 2780 HP. And yeah, so you've got the 2 260s, 2 907s. You're probably going to get a very, very aggressive kind of counter rotation. You're going to have Invil probably playing not so much towards the lower side, but they will be taking the outside of this town towards the 6 line, I'd imagine. And then the 907s and the 260s, you can see the 260s are already going straight through the city, creating crossfires. And is that going to force kind of an over-aggressive play from Raid. Look, they're now potentially going to have to just move forward here because they know that they're going to get flanked by the Nano 7s and the 260s.
Yeah, they are forced now into a commitment over the 4-5 line, and you can see Invil, easy pickings, easy peasy lemon squeezy so far for them as they're able to pick up a lot of damage for free. Timmy now getting sniped as well by the Leo from the side of Bjotrix, who's laying waste to the tanks from Raid as well. 5k down already, make it 7k down, and this simple but yet so effective move through the city has completely decimated the Raid strategy. They have no counter to the Leo, they have no counter to the EBR, even an Invil picking up so much damage on the crossing, and they're absolutely dominating Raid in this one.
Yeah, as you said, it's just the aggressive 260s that Invil like to use, not just on Himmels, but also in this match on Fishman's. And as you said, Raid, that was a fairly simple an expected move from Invil. We even called it as soon as you see the lineups at the start, but Raid just completely bamboozled. They don't know what to do, and they're just losing a lot of health, and with it, another round, potentially Invil taking the third round in this match, and looking maybe for that clean sweep again. Could it be a full day of clean sweeps?
I mean, everything is possible, Barry. At this Raid, it is looking not that great for the side of Raid, as yeah, they're picking up a few kills here and there, but overall every tank from Invil had more impact than the tanks from Raid. Raid had a Chieftain and a Leo at G2, they couldn't really do much, right? In return, Invil had a B2 Leo who was just farming the whole time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much damage he did, because as I said, the way that Raid played, it wasn't. They opened up to the Leo, of course, which you kind of expect. It's not so bad just taking a couple of shots from the Leo, but they never really even had any kind of avenue in the city, in the city kind of engagement to really do anything. You know what I mean? So you had Invil playing quite heavy on towards the 6-7 line, which, as we said, it just opens up the Raid attack to the Leo. That's what they're trying to do.
The whole strategy was designed around pushing Raid into the 5-6 line, which is exactly what Raid did, actually.
Yeah, Piotrix, as you said, 5.4k there in his Leo. But Raid, what do you think they should have really done differently? Because I said we kind of called exactly what...
I just think the south side of Fisherman looks much worse to play than the north side in general. I'm not sure yet. Piotrix did 5.5, by the way, from there. It's just an easy game for him.
I'd imagine.
Probably almost everything. Like you expect like 90% hit ratio from that point of view, since they're all turning their turrets.
Yeah, 13 out of 14, one non-pen, but probably fighting against 279s. That's a really good performance there from Piotrix. And as we said, you had it was basically Raid just fell into their trap. But yeah, maybe it is the side of the map we saw previously, as I said, with Amway, then getting to the middle a lot slower. It does seem that maybe the north side gets there even just that little bit quicker. I'm not sure, I haven't tested it, but that's what it feels like, even just a second or so. But that can mean that you're set up to do some early damage, whereas from the north side, but whereas from the south side, it's not the case.
Yeah, maybe I think the position in the mid are just better from north, actually, because you also have that building there where you saw some tanks from Invil play around with that hold down. Maybe the position in general are just better. We'll see, though. Maybe Raid can show us that is indeed the case. Raid really need to pick up around here. Really have to pick up around. Yeah,
because you don't want to go into Sand River when you're 4-0 down. As you said, it's very easy.
Proco is around where Proco's okay. So Fisherman's Bay, if they lose this, they come into Sand River where it's very easy to lose a game. Very easy to lose a game. If they go into Sand River 3-1, they could
3-2.
They could be 3-2, 4-2. They could. It's possible, yeah, because of the way that the East is just so much better, IMO. But then you go into Proco where you can win 2-0 from either. It's possible to win from either side. So then you come into the game with an actual chance. If you go 4-0 into Sand River, I don't think you come into Sand River with a chance left.
And especially because we haven't seen Proc too much this tournament at all, really. Well, I don't think we've seen it once. I don't remember seeing it.
No, everybody has banned it the whole time.
Yeah, so I said maybe the teams, it might not even be a special strategy, but because it hasn't been seen very recently, it could just catch somebody by surprise because the teams are maybe not so well versed on playing prop because they've been playing a lot of Cliff, a lot of Himmels, quite a bit of Ensk as well. Those are the maps that I think are the 3 maps we've seen the most so far. So yeah, there is still a decent chance for Raid, but this is the game that they need to win right now. This round.
Yeah, and then they can afford to lose one on Sand River even. But if they lose this final round here on Fisherman's Bay, I don't know. Then I'm gonna have to write them off.
Yeah, it'd be very, very difficult. So let's see what Raid can do now. As we said, they're on the north side, the potentially superior side.
Potentially, we're not sure.
Yeah, potentially. We've seen a lot of teams from the north winning a lot of their rounds. As you said, just the way that the games are panning out at the moment, it seems that might be the case. And let's see, maybe Raid will take a similar philosophy to how Invil played, or will they do something different? What are they bringing out?
Rest 279s and 1 CS. Raid double 277. A Yak Panzer E100!
I was about to say, has he seen it? The first thing I looked at was actually the Yak.
I looked at Invil's lineup first.
Pick up on that.
I looked at Invil's lineup first, you know, that's what the
Look
first
where
thing
he's
I was looking
going as
for.
well. Old Kings.
Old King at 420 heat, man. It's gonna pen 279 every time it hits it, basically everywhere. Doesn't really matter
Do you
where
reckon
it hits
this is a bit more of like a somewhat passive approach? I'd imagine the 279s from Raid are going to play quite passively, try and just play on on the holdowns behind these carts and the wagons and the houses, and just basically try and bait for the Jagdpanzers to do a shell. You know those 1k damage shells.
I mean, the Chieftain here, Kacha is kind of in trouble already. He's getting pushed really early on by his CS. Not that much damage being done at all towards that CS even. Kacha is going to be in trouble now, forced to bail, forced to run away. Needs to be careful. Fuel tanks are on fire. And Invil, actually, if they go 5-6 now, Barry, Jagdpanzer is going to have slay, dude.
Yeah, you can see he's behind the house there as well. Even if he does get spotted, he'll be able to get safe and then just reload 20 seconds and slam in another 1k plus damage shell. And
He's on reload.
Actually,
I
they're
think
falling
he
into
just
it. I don't know, did he make a connection on it to Miko and low roll? I did see quite a bit of damage.
Well, maybe. But here comes the raid tanks pushing across the 3-4 line. We saw Invil do it from the other side. Now these raid tanks are doing it from here, trying to pick up Conrad, trying to pick up Rexar, forcing those tanks to go towards Alex, towards the Jagdpanzer. Can Old Kings actually connect the shot here? Sokar 934, I can tell you that was the Jagdpanzer for sure. Now though, HP even in favor of Invil, this 277s, even trying to do some stuff from the back. Conrad down towards the one shot. Hannes in the EBR, actually the one to pick it up. Important stuff there. Now the Jagdpanzer is spotted out. Ketsai even gets a fire on towards Hannes in the EBR. Kacha goes down. The Jagdpanzer is completely isolated now. And so far, I'd say this is pretty good again for Invil.
Yeah, I think Hannes maybe needs to go towards the Leo. He maybe could have gone about 20 seconds before, because what's going to happen here is we see the Jagdpanzer is getting pushed in A6, but where's that rotation from Raid trying to catch up? You said in the previous games, the Invil just seemed to be a couple of seconds ahead. And again, it's the same thing. Hannes could have gone down to the south a lot earlier and just stopped that rotation. Then maybe that stops the tanks from Raid getting from the middle, because this was the push that they had to make. And that all that time, the Leo was just farming and spotted with much greater kind of DPM. And the Jagdpanzer is all, well, he's destroyed already. And you can see now, Invil, looks like this could be their time to get the 4-0.
It does look like it's about to be 4-0. Barry has again HP lead, gun lead. Everything is in the lead here for the side of Invil. As letting the Leo escape might have been a crucial mistake to make there. But again, I think Piotrix again did 4 or 5k damage in the Jagdpanzer. An interesting gimmick. Did it really pay off that much though? Would it do better than a 1-to-1 B Barry that makes a few shots and then runs away, or a Leo that shoots a few times as well and then runs away and resets the fight? Because Raid is defending, you know? Raid was all the time still defending, but now when they lose the Jagdpanzer, the Chieftain there as well, they were forced again in a reaction which was Invil set up for it.
Yeah, I think you could see it put fear in the eyes of Invil. I could see Sokar, he said he took a lot of damage, but he was kind of hiding behind the house. He was really unsure, like, oh, do I go out? Do I not go out? And you can see he goes out, he takes basically 1k from the Jagdpanzer, but as you said, then he's reloading. And the Leo from Invil was probably, I'd imagine, probably a bit more effective at actually dealing damage than the Jagdpanzer, because both of those tanks are playing pretty similar positions. You know, they're both on the red line, on the 6 line. You know, both teams can kind of use the similar position that's available to them. But I'd imagine the Leo probably output more damage than the Jagdpanzer. That's just my guess, because I think we only...
The Leo did at least 4k.
And we only saw, I think, 2 shells from the Jagdpanzer. We saw both low rolls, I believe. But still 2k damage, and let's see what the Leo managed to put out. He did 3k. The Jagdpans actually did 3k as well. So there was a shot we missed there, but they're both basically even. But I think Hannes maybe could have played a bit faster, basically, in the late game. And if he manages to get towards Piotrix sooner, it might have given them a better chance.
If they went over the middle slightly faster, I think they could have even killed Piotrix running. Because Piotrix was on 1-2 line first, Barry. And they could have killed him on the crossing, and or even made him low HP so Hannes could go kill him.
Yeah.
Hannes couldn't really go for him because Hannes was, even if he's full HP, it's a Leo. Barry, he loads HP and he kills Hannes in 3 shots.
Yeah, I was expecting him to maybe try and just get that spotter even. You know what I mean? As opposed to,
when the Leo's behind the rock, it doesn't really matter if he's spotted.
But again, as you said, that mid push from Raid, I did see that they were wanting to push the middle, but it was, again, as you said, a bit kind of a bit disjointed in multiple waves. I think you saw.
I think they could have just done it earlier, man. Also, Alex kind of got Alex on the left hand side. I don't think he added that much either in the strategy, and then Kacha dying there. Also, it would almost be better to have a CS where Kacha was to spot the city and then run away, and you sacrifice only the Akpanzer, probably. And even then, I think there's again one of these moments where maybe you should cut your losses when you kill Conrad and stuff and stabilize the game, maybe. But even holding like this on defense on Fisherman's Bay when you lose A5 is kind of hard. The Akpanzer could have basically blocked off A5 fully though, so they couldn't really use it to snipe from there. But yeah.
Yeah, he probably would be big enough to block, as you said, against the house and.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the red line, but he can. He can block the bush.
He would reach the red line. He would fully reach it. It's only a small gap.
Maybe that's what they picked, expecting to lose, which I don't think that would be.
But then they would have to stop pushing on 1-2 and hold. Like they would have to split map and hold, which might be possible, actually. Middle against middle, snipes against snipes. If it's kind of even, you could probably hold on defense and wait it out, maybe. But they didn't go for that, so.
So we will be getting into Sand River now. And as we said, I don't know if it will be a 5-0, but it's very likely here to now be Invil's victory on this map. Because we said Sand River, you're very likely to pick up one side. And that's all that Invil need. They managed to get the clean sweep on Himmels and Fishmans. And we could even see them get a clean sweep for the entire game. But all they need is just that one round, and they will be crowned champions.
Yeah,
those gold fists,
5 match points for Invil, man. 4 match points for Invil.
Championship
Wait,
points.
do we count the yeah, 4 match points. I talked about it. First of all, it's morale 4-0 down. Second of all, it's Sand River, where I think a 1-1 split is in order. And at this point, I think Rain might be kicking themselves, man. There's out of those 4 rounds they lost, 3 of them could have gone either way. Especially those 2 Himmels rounds. And especially the first one, they probably should have won. It's 4-0, but it could be 3-1, it could be 2-2, it could be 3-1 the other way. It's, yeah.
Even in the game earlier, I said a lot of these games are being close, but the team's just saying, well, if you win the first round in the series, then you're going to win all the rest today, it seems. That's basically how the games have gone, despite them being close.
We'd run any percent.
Yeah, we're 3 hours into this now. We're potentially on the final game of the tournament. Let's see what we've got here. 4
CSs, that's a lot, though. That's a lot.
Jakefa in his triangle, as we've seen a lot.
Jakefa, better be Barry. Invil does not have an EBR. It's very important. They do not have an EBR, so they're using CSs for spot. But Raid has double EBR and an STRV. That's 3 tanks that are not combat capable, really. So look at Invil, up 2000 HP already from the beginning, by the way.
And it looks like both teams going for a bit of a south engagement. And as you said, that might be the difference. The fact that Raid do have double EBR, and they're going to have the STRV in the back sniping, so he will be able to put in some good support. But it depends how Invil use their CSs, because what they're going to do, they're pretty much going to be able to take the north for free. Even though Hannes is going around there in his EBR, like taking a lot of damage actually.
He gets
from the
stabbed.
cross, I guess, from the Chieftains.
Yeah, he gets stabbed by the Chieftains crossing. Now these Invul tanks are going into the middle though, pushing down the mid with 3 or 4 guys. Raid will have to react to this, but so far they're not really doing anything. They might have to support their 279. They have complete info on what's happening on 1-2 though. They see those 7 tanks actually from the side of Invul, and already 4,000 HP down, Barry.
Yeah, as you said, they were already down just because of their lineup. Invul not going without the EBRs. Callian making a big peek there. I don't know if that's really going to work for them. They don't have the HP anyway. In fact, I think that was an even trade, but if Raid already have less HP, that's not a good trade for them. Ricochet also getting punished, being caught in his CS against 279s. You never want to be fighting 279s frontally in the CS. Is not going to end well for you at all.
Now, no, Ricochet here to trade on towards those tanks from Invul. He's taken the absolute beating of a lifetime. Now, these 279s is actually a very good pick from Invul. A very good way to approach this, even if you think about it, Barry, because they're very hard to pen. Even for those Chieftains for the side of Raid, it's very hard to deal with these 279s. Only the guy really at K5 has some sort of answer for them. Piotrix there bangs the cupola of Link, making him a one-shot as well. And Invul here with a 6 around even on the side of Raid. And now Bunze completely out in the open. Bunze gets sent back home. Alex takes some to get safe as well. 6 HP difference again. And no remontadas today as Invul has woken up with a will to win. And Raid coming off their 3-0 win against Fist is feeling what another clean sweep looks like, because they've lost once today in a 4-0 to defeat, and Invul's going to do one better. They're going to make it 5-0.
Yeah, the full speed run today, as we said, all teams getting a clean sweep. So whoever gets the first round seems to get the rest. You know, it's like a buy one get one free offer today. You know, you get the first round. Oh, actually, you know, have one. Oh no, have another one for free. Have another one for free. You know? And yeah, Raid, they're really not going to be able to pick up this round now. As we said, I think that was kind of interesting. You said Bunze kind of caught out in the open, but not necessarily just that. But as you said, Invul pushed into the riverbed, and Raid had to come up with some sort of reaction. And you could see what they kind of did. They sent a few Chieftains to try and get some shots on the guys going down into the riverbed. But then they were just kind of caught out in the open because they were never able to maintain the K-line. And you can see K-line on Sand River can be so important into the overall kind of outcome of the game.
Almost wicked. Almost wicked there from Alex to close it out. And Invul deservedly are your Clan Showdown champions. Coming out strong, coming out swinging. Beaten Raid not once but twice with clean sheets. A dominant victory coming out for them. Taking also the whole winnings to their regard. And for one tournament at least can call themselves current Clan Showdown champions.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get to see Procator, you know? It would have been nice to have gone.
I thought you were going to say I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get to see Fame and see how they did, but...
Well, we kind of did, but not
really, dude.
No.
You can't compare that. All the Fame FCs have chosen the easy way out. You can't lose if you don't play.
Yeah. Taking spots up on the analyst desk and the casting desk.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even Kian, it's a full Fame broadcast, to be honest. You know, we've taken over. It's like, you know, Barry, we went from soldiers to generals, you know? We've taken over the media, we're establishing ourselves in the politics. You know, we went from a single entity that just plays the game to like just taking over everything else surrounding it.
Now just spreading Fame propaganda.
Fame propaganda, dude, yep.
The ideology of the clan.
But yeah, Invul deserves
strategies.
This was actually a very good strat, though, I would say. They do some initial damage with those chieftains onto the K-line cross. They see that Raid is full K-line already. And those 279s are a nice addition. I think they had turbo as well. The thing is, when they come onto that June, chieftains usually get farmed there, also from K-line, because it's Chief. You know, you can still shoot it in the hull. But 279, when they're on this slope or this June, they are no longer able to do this trickery against them. Barry, final words from you before we go to the analysts.
I don't think any of us expected this. I find we often say that in these tournaments. Things go a little bit differently. You know, someone, like a new upcoming team manages to get a win against one of the old dogs. But today, all clean sweeps. What What can you say? It's a quick one.
It was indeed a very quick one. Thank you very much, Barry, for the insight and commentary. It was a pleasure casting with you. I hope in this year you will mark the Caro. If not next year, will be the year or the year after or the year after or
Santa, please. Santa.
Or the year after. It's the year 2025. Barry still marking Caro. It was a pleasure to cast for you. Keyhand and Insane. Take it away.
Thanks, Barry and Ducky, for a wonderful cast, and also I guess we have to say thank you to Inbil for a grandiose showing. Inbil really, just demonstrating how it's done. Yet another clean sweep, and the any percent airport speedrun here for everyone is complete. What a showing!
Yeah, well, not really surprised. A bit disappointing that Ray didn't manage to get at least one run on the board for those finals. But Invil, that was by far their best tournament, completely dominating. They actually lost one round, and it was in the first match against Hive. Other than that, not a single round loss from them. Very solid. Like, you could see the tactics were on point. The players were playing well. They played well as a team, and well deserved. They are going to be our champions.
Indeed, congratulations to them. Simply a stunning, stunning performance. I guess, people will have to complain to the players and also to the FCs of Invil if the next Grand Finals are going to be best of 13, just so we have more time to cover actual gameplay. But yeah, what do you think made it for Invil? Like, was it the individual player skill, the calls, the strats? What would you think was the outstanding thing here for Invil?
What was pretty crazy is that for example, the first round, right? They had the upper hand, they had the opening, as you could see. They were in great positions to hold that push, but again, one mistake, that repush that came way too early with those raid tanks. They had the control over A1, over the hangout, which is the key, and they would force Invil into making another push, for example, over the tree line, because they also had the heal. But mistake and Invil on the other side, we need to punish those mistakes. So even if the opening was not the greatest against what Raid did, they still managed to get that run, and that's showing how strong they were this tournament. Even when it was not according to the plan, it was not like plan A, they had a plan B in their pocket to actually make it.
Although I have to say, in that first game, I think the repush, as Darky already said, was a bit early. Now into game number 2, and Raid is trying to do the Invil way, basically going across the courtyard very, very aggressively, only one CS to basically get the info on the hill, but Invil once again seems ready, and Senti just has a beautiful position to farm.
Yeah, in comparison, Invil, they actually kept those advanced positions around the D-line, and they actually scared the raid tanks off pushing straight. They also managed to get the heal with the superior amount of tanks, and then Senti had a really nice time in this great position farming the courtyard. You had the reinforcement, the whole... It was a bit sloppy at some point, I'd say. The shooting, the focus fire from the side of Invil, that was maybe one of the moments where they were not the greatest, because the game was a bit close where it shouldn't be. But at the end of the day, they managed to actually keep the lead and then end that in the cap.
And yeah, we can see here, those are the last seconds of the game, basically. Invil choosing not to chase Alex, who was, I think, in both games left on the hill, wondering where it all went wrong for his team. Capping that one out. And this was actually very, very interesting, and it made me a bit sad, because normally Invil is known not to have config. Now I see DJ Weed actually has a config in the 279, though.
Well, what can we say apart from 279, 279, 279? That's the tank, almost impossible to pen from the front when it's angled up. You just go on the mid with stand up dudes, you just face, you just wait for them to push, you get some side shots, and look at the HP, 5k HP up. Invil fully ready for that push. They actually prepared well for the finals this time. They actually took in consideration what Raid was capable of, because they're still limited as a team when it comes to actually deeper tactics than pushes like this. So good job to them, actually waiting for them, punishing them for that initial push. 7k HP up, that was already over, and the Polish team was already 3-0 up.
Yeah, you can just see, like, Invil, they had, I guess, the more aggressive play in between both of those teams. Both of those teams always tried to be aggressive, but Invil somehow always coming out ahead. Also, I think, yes, Invil only dropped one round the entire tournament, but so many of the rounds were actually close, and then it was just player skill and cohesion carrying them through.
Definitely. Next up, so Invil 3-0 up, 2 rounds away from winning the finals. They were this time on the attack on Fisherman, so you could see they are on the mid with most of their tanks, but they are pressuring the 7 line straight, so they are forcing Raid into rotation. I didn't really like that tactic from Raid with that Yak Panda. I mean, the tank could be played, but then you don't need to have 2/3 of your team on the middle. You need to actually utilize him, so you need to have probably more reinforcement around the 7-8-9-0 and less on the 1-2. So that was probably a bad tactic from the side of Raid, and Invil was the perfect counterplay, straight pushing up here, holding the mid, like utilizing the city tanks to actually cover them, and you can see the HP, they talk for themselves.
Yeah, also the Yak Panzer there, I mean, it was sort of a gimmick strat, but you don't pull out those when you're 3-0 down. Like, I
mean, technically, it could work, but they will need to hold the 7-8-9-0 for that and have less tanks on the mid to actually force them into pushing deeper to utilize it.
And now the last game in between both of those, a Raid trying to take the southern part of the map, also with double Chieftain Mosque. You have the SGRB supporting, but all of a sudden the Invil 279s start appearing in front of the Raid tanks that are actually pushing towards the K line, and then it all turns sour.
What was good from the side of Invil here is that this push on the mid, they actually combine it with a lot of tanks on the J line. That's what you need to actually make that work, and that's where they actually took the advantage. Also, those 279 probably with a turbo, like Daki said, up here, utilizing the armor, peeking on those chieftains, and Raid just out of solutions. They were just completely stunned, and they were just watching those Invil tanks rolling on them.
And here we see the last dying seconds of the Grand Finals once again. Congratulations to Invil for, what was one of the cleanest tournaments. It was certainly the cleanest tournament day I have ever seen. I mean, also, just clean sweeps all over. So yeah, best of 13s next time. Not yet confirmed, but I'm thinking about it. And with that, I want to put a passing mention, as we will be raiding Dakilzor after, so everyone who has not completed their drops yet. We didn't expect this stream to be over this quickly, but in case you want to claim your drops, you will be able to do so, and I'll leave the last words to you.
Well, I hope you still had a great time with us, even if the matches were not that close, and we'll be really happy to have you on the next one.